a piece of cake. I got some good calls. You know who the first caller on the Skraby show was?
Who'd you get?
Mr. Brock.
Brock never disappoints.
Yes, he came and met up with us at Carlsbad High School, gave us hats.
Yeah.
I use that hat sometimes when I'm walking the dog. It's all good.
You're not much of a hat person.
No,
I don't think I'm about to say I don't know if I've ever seen you actually with a hat on. Nonetheless, we got 4 hours for you guys today. We're gonna be joined by new Padre pitcher Michael King in the 2 o'clock hour. Finally get a chance to hear from him, get his thoughts on being traded to San Diego from New York. We'll also have Bryce Miller on a little bit later on in the 3 o'clock hour. We got a big five, and I believe it's our first Fantabulous game show of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Skraby has avoided this for a little bit, but the time has come. I don't know if we ever got your record for 2023. It was certainly better than 2022. It was a bounce back year in some ways.
I think I only had like 2 wins.
That's compared to the 0 you had the year before.
Yeah, I think I should probably keep track of our scores this year instead of just guessing, because I didn't pick up many wins last year, so I just didn't really want to know the answer of it.
Yeah, but it might be kind of funny though at the end of the year if you have a good year. But if you don't have a good year, it could be
a good year. Okay.
It could be good radio.
Well, when you and Chris stop cheating, then I'll have a good year.
Back to the cheating thing. The big five in the 4 o'clock hour, as will be Chris versus the Fan. We'll have it all for you. Where do we start? I guess we start with the national championship game. When we left here last night, the Michigan Wolverines were taking it to the Huskies. And although the Huskies were able to put some points on the board, Scrape, I don't know that the game really ever changed. Michigan pretty much dominated that game from start to finish. They did it in probably the most brutal way possible, which is just running the football right down your throat.
Such a slow burn.
It is. And when a team knows that you can't do anything, because from what I gather, talking to Marcus McNeil every week.
Yeah.
One thing that it sounds like offensive linemen like to do is they like to run block.
Yeah.
There's no thought to it. It's just hat on hat. And from the moment that game started yesterday, Michigan dominated that portion of the game. Both sides.
They did. I was actually pretty surprised that Washington was able to stop the bleeding, because it was going to get out of hand real quick. And they held them to the 20 points through the third quarter. And then the floodgates opened.
Floodgates
Two
open.
touchdowns just like that, and it was over.
Yeah.
And Michael Penix Jr., he's a great quarterback. He was not his best last night. He missed a lot of receivers. He threw a little bit high on a lot of throws. I think he was either overly amped up, or he was just trying to put his team on his back.
Or you got to give
Michigan's really good.
Some credit there too. They hit Penix Jr. a lot. They didn't allow none of that big Penix energy to really kick off at all.
It was very small Penix energy.
No, they definitely moved his feet. They hit him. After the game, he looked like he was beat up a little bit walking back to the locker room.
Well, he took a hit late in the game where he could barely stand up, and his ribs were probably barking at him right there.
Yeah.
But I think that he showed. I mean, he was a great quarterback all year. I don't think he got the press that he deserved, but I think he showed here in the college football playoff that he probably deserves a good look at an NFL spot.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. And so you look at the end results of this game. Jim Harbaugh, that I think that's where the attention shifts to next. And I really wish that my man Chris Ello could be here right now, because
we'll get his take later.
Well, I know we'll get his take, but it'd be better if he was actually in the building, because we kind of gotten a sense of his animosity or dislike, I should say.
No, it's animosity.
Is it animosity?
Yeah.
Either way, he has it for Jim Harbaugh. And now Jim Harbaugh gets to hoist that trophy. Is it the last time he's in a Michigan or representing the University of Michigan? Because it certainly seems like all momentum is pointing towards a departure back to the NFL.
In the Daily Gambit, I have some odds on what team he's going to go to. And there's one team in particular that is leading the way by far. and we'll get to that in the Daily Gambit. But I thought I thought last night was a pretty amazing night for Jim Harbaugh, just because Jim Harbaugh is that competitive junkie who looks for anything he can to get himself or his team ahead.
Yeah.
And he kind of shoved it into everybody's face last night by winning the national title. You can't take that away.
I mean, he's kind of shoved it in everybody's face all year when you think about it. He was suspended to start the season. Michigan wins all those games. He comes back. He's suspended again. The last 3 games of the season, I believe it was. And Michigan wins those games. And it just seemed like every obstacle that had been put in front of the team, they found a way to overcome it. And by the time they got to the national championship game, it just was hard to see them being denied at this point. They had already slayed the dragon, if you will, in beating Alabama, and were the clear favorites, it seemed like, going into that game. And they showed that.
Do you think, I saw this opinion a lot last night, but do you think if Georgia played in the game, it would have been a better game? And I hate these questions because you cannot tell what would happen. I think Washington, when the game started, we were all saying in the room during the break, like, wow, Michigan looks strong. Washington, I felt like, got a little, they felt underwater a little bit in the first quarter, and that really hurt them for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think in terms of whether Georgia, it doesn't matter. They weren't in the game. They didn't earn the right to be in the game.
Exactly.
They got beat by Alabama, and that knocked them out.
Yeah.
It won't be a problem next year because that team, Georgia team, still makes the playoffs in a 12-team kind of format.
Yeah.
And so, it's pointless to really go down that road.
I guess
if Georgia was in, should they have won? I mean, if Florida State had all their players, is that a much different game? It had 20-something players that decided they weren't going to play. So you could play that game with almost anything. And I think ultimately it does a disservice to the teams that actually got there and did the work.
We got the matchup that the college football playoff is designed to
100%.
get. So 100%. I have no problems with the matchup last night. And it was a good game heading into the fourth quarter. I mean, Washington couldn't move the ball, but once at the end of the game, they started getting some long passes.
The reality is you're not going to get a good game every single year. You're just not. There's going to be a couple years where, and the Super Bowl was the same way. The Super Bowl has had a really an unbelievable run of really good games. In these Super Bowls. But there was a stretch there where there were a lot of blowouts in those games. And so I think ultimately you're just not going to get a good game all the time. Yesterday was kind of, I don't know, mid, right? It wasn't a great game, but it certainly wasn't a dud, but it was clear that Michigan was the dominant team, and that's
I think
why
we got the best team in the country.
I'm looking forward to talking about where the odds are Jim Harbaugh could be going.
He's got many different locations that he could be going.
I mean, so today with the firing of Mike Vrabel, by the way,
I have his odds too
from the from the Tennessee Titans. That's another opening. So now you have the Titans, you have the Chargers. You have the Commanders. You have, I mean, we don't know what the Raiders are going to do yet, but they have a interim head coach right now. And
if they don't hire Antonio Pierce, it seems something wrong.
I 100% agree. Who else are we? Is that is only 3 teams?
Well, the Patriots haven't done anything yet.
So possibly 2 more.
Yeah, I think that's about it that I can think of right now.
All right. Well,
maybe I almost said the Cubs, the Bears get rid of their coach, but I don't think that's going to happen.
The Belichick one is going to take a lot more moving parts, right? Because that sounds like it could be a trade that actually happens if he is deciding to go elsewhere, or the Patriots are deciding to move on to a different coach.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's very strange.
Here's the thing I've been have an argument with Adam Klug about, and he's probably right in terms of this whole Bill Belichick thing. If I was a team and I knew, as the rumors have said all year long, that the Patriots, not all year long, but since they've started to really struggle, that the Patriots would want to move on. If I was a team, why would I trade anything for that? If you are going to let him go, and he's got 1 year on the contract, and I think that's what complicates things. It's not as though he is a free agent head coach and anybody can have him. Even if he decides not to coach next year, or they decide not to have him back and they keep him on that last 1 year of that contract, you're going to have to compensate the Patriots in order to get him.
And I think a team will do that, no problem.
I don't think a team will have any problem. The question is, I wonder what it's going to take. Is this the same? Is it the same price tag that it would take, maybe 3 years when Brady was still there that last time? It seems like the star has been dimmed a little bit.
Oh, the star's definitely dimmed. But some team out there who hasn't had a stable
what did Sean
coach,
Payton get? What did they give up for Sean Payton? Was there some first rounders in there for him?
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know though. I mean, I don't think
he's the most recent one we've had, right?
Yes, most recent one we've had. Denver's going to send. Oh my gosh, you are absolutely correct. Denver sends a 2023 first round. Wait.
Yeah, so this is a couple years ago. Remember, this is.
But it's saying. Oh yes. I need to read this stuff before I go with it on the air.
Yes.
But Sean Payton, there was a trade, and it looks like a first round pick.
Yeah. So I mean, I would assume that's at least what it's going to take to get Bill Belichick there.
A first round pick. I mean, people are dealing out first round picks left and right these days.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to break. Let's get to our first break. We got Michael King, as I said, later in this 2:00 hour. But when we come back, some news that kind of hit the airways. Aztecs in action tonight against the San Jose State. The Spartans. So we'll get to that too. But we'll talk a little Padre baseball when we return. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Did you miss anything from
I'm good.
Tony, I'm calling to tell you that the baseball writers have elected you to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
16 years anniversary of that phone call that put my dad in the Hall of Fame. Saw that going around on social media today. A couple people sent it to me. As we thought it would be a perfect lead in as we're getting ready to talk some Padres.
Where were you standing in this room?
I was like behind him. I was like in the kitchen. He was like sitting in the living room, and I was kind of like hanging out behind him in the kitchen.
Didn't you say that he was like super nervous the call wasn't going to come?
If you, yes, he was nervous the call wasn't going to come. I think he had to know the call was going to come
At some point, yes.
Right, but I mean, he was nervous. He was shaking. If you watch that clip as he's picking up the phone, if there's a shot of his hand, and you can see it shaking. Like he was genuinely nervous about the phone call.
What if this is just how my brain works? But what if he was like waiting and everybody had cameras on him and it was like it was like a telemarketer that called instead?
Well, I don't think that was. I mean, it was.
Do you guys have it set up for this?
It was a cell phone. It didn't come to the house at that point.
That still would have been funny.
But yeah, it would have been funny. Nonetheless, 16 year anniversary of that phone call. Talking some Padres. Bryce Miller, who's going to be on the show a little bit later on, had an article today about Mark Sweeney no longer being with the Padres. He is looks to be almost. It sounded like, according to that article, close to a deal doing with a different team. So I love Mark. That's my guy. Big help to me as I transitioned into this area, and so I hope. He lands where he wants to land, because he certainly is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the game of baseball. So
he is, yeah.
Wish him nothing but the best.
I met him very early on in my sports radio career, and I will say this is how you know he's a good person. He remembered my name from the first time he met me all the way until today. It's pretty insane, because I was just a small time radio guy.
Not everybody feels the same way, which is I confused on, quite
I'm
frankly.
confused on it too.
You know, to each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
Josh Hader still out there on the market as a closer, as a free agent closer, and you know, I spoke on it a little bit last week. He wants to break that at Edwin Diaz number, which was over 100 million.
Yeah, and this article on CBSSports.com breaks it down why 3 reasons he could break that, and they make sense. But the first reason makes a lot of sense, is that Josh Hader is actually a free agent, and Edwin Diaz was only allowed to talk with the Mets. So Josh Hader is able to leverage other teams against each other, but Edwin Diaz was only getting offers from the Mets at that time.
Yeah.
So Josh Hader could do that.
I mean, listen, he definitely has that working in his favor, being a free agent, but. The question is, outside of a team that already had Edwin Diaz and knew what they were getting and were comfortable. Remember, Edwin Diaz, when he first got traded, I believe from the Mariners over to the Mets, he struggled immensely with that closer role, but they stuck with him. And so there's a sense of, I'm sure for the Mets, when they go into that deal, of some comfort, knowing they've seen the worst of Edwin Diaz. Now, unfortunately, he ends up tearing his patella tendon last year, bad. Which was a kind of a freak deal. But it's different. Sometimes you feel when you're going to a team that hasn't had you, hasn't seen you at your worst, and. I'm sure some of the rumors that have been out there about him in terms of his availability, whether they're rumors or not, whether you want to call them rumors or not, I'm sure that could play a factor into a team wanting to bring him in. But there's no doubt about it. He's the best closer, and he's been the best closer for like the last 4 or 5 years.
I don't mean to disparage Josh Hader, because he did help the Padres and he was very good last year. But when you look at his numbers, he appears in like at least 8 to 10 less games. I don't know the exact number, but it's like it's a handful of games that he's not coming into because it didn't match up right. And if I'm a team, I'm looking at that like, all right, you're going to get us 33 saves this year, but you're only going to give us 33 saves and 35 opportunities. Other guys, are getting 50 opportunities, 45 opportunities. You just want, if you're going to pay Josh Hader $100 million plus, you want him available whenever you need him available.
Is that accurate? I don't know that he's 15 behind.
I don't know that he's 15 behind, but he's at least 8 behind. Let me count again, because I did this a
how
couple
much
weeks ago.
how much of that is on him? I mean, the manager ultimately gets to make the decision whether you're going into the game
and your
or not.
team's success as well.
Right. So I mean, I don't know that he can be faulted for all of those
No, and
lack of appearances.
And it's hard to say too, because we don't know what management was thinking. There were certain situations last year that weren't a save situation. They were just to keep the score at what it was, or at least keep it at a 1-run deficit for the Padres, and he didn't come in.
I will also say, though, there was games where the Padres had more than a 3-run lead, and he did pitch in those games.
He did, but that was like maybe, and I hate doing this because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but my recollection is that there were periods during the season where he had 7 days off in a row, and that is a fact.
Is that his fault?
I don't know. I don't. I mean, if the Padres were losing, then
okay,
no,
but
that's not his fault.
you can say is in the cases where the Padres were up, and they would go on these spurts where they would bludgeon teams by 5, 6, 7 runs.
Yeah,
they do it for like 4 or 5 games. It's not his fault that the team is running away. And then they go on a span of games where they would be down the entire game, and there'd be no spot for him. Is that also his fault?
That's not his fault.
I don't think so.
No, it's not his fault. But
I don't know. I think ultimately he's going to get this money. It might take him a little bit of time for it to kind of these teams to kind of have to, come to Jesus at some point.
Yes, they will. And as a player, when do you start getting like, hey, I got to get a team?
I mean, I don't know. I've never been into January as a player.
He's in a kind of a different spot too.
Yeah, so. And I've also never been as good as Josh Hader doing what he's doing. So, like there's a different level of confidence waiting in January when you're Josh Hader, versus the 25th, 6th guy on a roster. You're
just trying to get into that building as soon as possible.
Exactly.
Like in August, he pitched 2, 4, 6, 8 times in August. And again, I didn't go through the entire month and find out when he was available. If I recall,
August was not a good month.
August was not a good month, but like there are times when he could have come into the game when the Padres were losing to spare the bullpen. I mean, at some point, the guys like Ray Kerr needed a breather.
I'm not saying that there weren't times where it seemed to line up perfectly for him to maybe come into the game, or maybe not perfectly, but it seemed to line up for him to come in, and he didn't. But who's to say that was his choice or not? We don't know. Ultimately,
we don't know.
I know there's been plenty reported on it, but it's open for interpretation on a lot of it.
I will say this: if he goes and signs with the Dodgers, he's enemy number 1 of Padres fans.
I wouldn't expect anything.
And I hope that he knows what kind of booze he's gonna get when he comes down to Petco Park. I'm just hoping he does not sign with the Dodgers.
I don't think anybody's that naive. First of all, I think everybody knows exactly what they're signing up for in any of these situations. And I think also you can't put it past the Dodgers in this case, based on the way they've been spending thus far.
I know, and I don't like it at all. I tried to talk myself out of being mad at the Dodgers last night on the way home, and I'm not. So I think Ben and Woods had it right. I'm jealous that they're taking advantage of an opportunity that no one else is.
I think Woodsy hit it on the head.
Yeah,
and because the reality is, we were singing a different tune last year, all of us. Like it was good to be king for a little bit.
It was,
in terms of spending
for a little bit.
You know what I'm saying?
It was
fun, but I think ultimately that has changed course, and now we're watching another team doing it. And I think it's human nature to feel some type of way as you see these guys just throw money all over the place. Like you kind of feel a little jealous.
Yeah. I feel a little jealous. I feel a little hoodwinked about, I don't know if that's the right word.
What are you hoodwinked about?
Just because this whole deferral thing has been a thing.
Oh, to Matthew Skraby.
No, I'm not going to say that they did anything wrong, because they didn't. But they're the people that take full advantage of something, and you're like, that rule is set up for like certain things. It's not set up for your entire team to be on layaway.
He said layaway. I think couple things. I think Alden said it really well. Ultimately, in terms of the deferrals, there's never going to be another player like Shohei Ohtani ever.
No.
I mean, I shouldn't say ever because I didn't think Shohei Ohtani would ever show up, but he did. But I just think that's a unique situation. And it's a unique situation from the personality that he had. I mean, it was his idea, for crying out loud, to do the deferral. So, I mean, that doesn't, reason why it doesn't happen or we don't talk about it as much is because a lot of guys ain't willing to defer money like
and
that.
Alden told us yesterday.
And that kind of money is different. I mean,
way different.
Nobody else is getting an opportunity to defer. Was it
$668
million a year? You know what I'm saying?
Like it's ridiculous. But I mean, I guess if the Dodgers, when he brought that up, they probably were like, money signs appeared in their eyes because they're saving so much money.
I think what I'm interested in seeing moving forward is if other teams take this tactic. I think it would be a good idea for like the teams that don't have a lot of money to maybe think about deferring, because yes, the opportunity to win now would be enticing.
That's why the Padres could go out and sign Blake Snell and defer some money.
But to my point, you got to have the player that's willing to be like, yeah. You give me my money later.
I'm speaking for Blake Snell right now, but I think he would be that type of guy who would want to set up a nest egg.
You're
for him
definitely
later.
Speaking for Blake Snell. We'll leave that at that. Let's get to break. When we return, what we got going?
Michael King.
That's right, Michael King.
Padres
pitcher coming to join us next. We get a chance to finally introduce ourselves. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
And this is Live Your Life from Article Sound
.238 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Chris Ello joins us in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll be joined by Michael King here shortly, Padres' newly acquired pitcher. Looking forward to chatting with Michael a little bit. I went back and looked at it. He faced the Padres back on May 27th. That Saturday game, the Padres ended up losing on a walk-off. I think it was a single.
It's a very frustrating game, I remember.
Yeah, Michael Walker pitched great that game, but Michael came in the 7th with 2 outs, walked 1, ended up striking out 2, got out of that particular inning unscathed. So that was him as a reliever. Of course, we know that the Padres' intentions, it seems like, are to have him as a starter. So looking forward to chatting with that a little bit. I want to go back to real quick before Michael gives us a call. I mentioned Mike Vrabel was let go. Did that surprise you a little bit? It didn't surprise me because, obviously you want to see your team get better. They have struggled over the last couple of years, but I didn't see him losing his job.
I didn't see him losing his job either, but I think he's going to find a new job very quick.
Are you insinuating the Patriots may come a calling? I think he might be. He's currently, I think, talking to Michael as we get ready to bring him in on air. But that certainly seems to be what the arrows are pointing to, is that he is could possibly head to the Patriots. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But joining us here on Gwynn and Chris, none other than Michael King, Padres' newly acquired pitcher. Michael, how are you doing today, man? Thanks for coming on.
So much for having me.
Let me start here. It sounds like you're going to get an opportunity to start. Last couple seasons, you've kind of been in the rotation, kind of also been out of the bullpen. Are you looking forward to the opportunity to start?
Yeah, I can't wait. I was begging the Yankees for a while, and then was finally given the opportunity towards the end of this past year. And yeah, I'm really looking forward for a full season, staying on that 5-man rotation. I've always been a routine-oriented guy. So I felt like that suited me best. And I just wanted the opportunity, and I can't thank the Padres enough because that they'll be giving it to me.
Now let's go back. Obviously the trade goes down. How much did you know? What was it like once you heard the news? And have you had a chance to get out here to San Diego and kind of see things for yourself?
Yeah, I definitely was shocked. Obviously, any type of trade is weird. I heard rumblings probably the couple days before that things could possibly start happening. The Yankees are all I know at the big league level, and I've been with them since 2018. So just change in general is weird. So I went through a little phase of like, I don't know. I guess I was anxious and a little sad to not see my friends again. But then all of a sudden, I just became so happy with the opportunity that's coming. San Diego is a sweet spot. They have an awesome team. I've connected with a couple of the guys on the team. I've got connected with a lot of the front office and coaching staff. So I'm just pumped to get out there and get to work with them. I have not been out in San Diego yet, but I actually am going out on this Thursday and throwing a bullpen on Friday with Ruben. And I've talked to Musgrove a little bit. I think he'll poke in and see me and meet me for the first time, or I guess in person. So I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome, man. Well, hopefully we bring you some good weather to kind of get things going once you head down this way. You mentioned this is a change of pace for you. I mean, you are a New Yorker through and through, born in Rochester, obviously playing in the big leagues with the Yankees. Probably, I'm guessing, was somewhat of a dream come true. But how do you think this transition? What is this going to be like for you as you will be, embarking on a new journey in a completely new place that you haven't been to before?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously totally different. Baseball players are baseball players, so I know that my friends and teammates are going to welcome me in, and I'll get along right with them, just because that's how baseball players are. Yeah. But obviously the area is totally different. The weather's totally different. Even like media is totally different. Fans totally different. I got a decent adjustment ahead of me, but honestly, I'm just really excited for it. that's really the only word that I've been using a ton, just because like when you think about San Diego, people say it's their favorite city in America, and it's a vacation spot, and it's the best weather you can get, and it's also a pitcher's park. So there's so many that make me excited to come out there, and I just can't wait for it.
We're talking to Michael King, new Padres pitcher here on Gwynn and Chris 97.3 The Fan. And I know that you said anytime trades are being talked about and your name's in it, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but I got to amp it up to the next level. What's it like to be the main piece of a blockbuster trade? Because we heard about these rumors for a while, and your name was always a part of it. And some of the other guys that came along with you were put as part of that trade as well. But what is it like to be the main guy in that trade?
It's weird. It makes me feel wanted, which is obviously a great thing. And yeah, I mean, there's so many guys in the trade that also can be absolute studs. I was just talking to Ruben about Vasquez and Brito, and I haven't even met Thorpe yet. And all I've heard about from Thorpe is how awesome his changeup is and how he projects to be this super prospect. So it's not. I love that you guys are saying that I'm the main piece in it, but I mean, the Padres just got a ton of young arms, and then bringing along Higgy too. Higgy was one of my best friends on the team, and also just knows how to command a staff, and having him know me really well is settling for me. But also having him come in and really be able to prove his worth, because he's so good at managing a pitching staff, I think will be huge for us. So as much as like you guys are saying I'm the main piece in it, I think that I think Preller did really well in this trade, because the guys that are coming over are ready to make an impact.
Michael King joins us, Padres newly acquired pitcher from the Yankees in the Juan Soto deal. And Michael, you know, one of the things that is apparent at the top of this rotation, you have two guys in Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. And the two things that stand out about those guys is they are true students of pitching. Are there guys that you like to watch, you know, do their thing on the mound that, you know, you try to take a little piece from?
Yeah, I pride myself on my preparation. And so I look at a lot of guys that are similar to me, and just kind of their sequences in terms of how they work. So guys that I always go to are, I'm thinking of like Aaron Nola was big. Corey Kluber was big, and he was a teammate of him for a while. So I've been lucky to have the guys in the locker room that I can bounce ideas off of. And the brief conversations I've had with Musgrove, I already love him. And I can't wait to actually pick his brain and see how he works and the conversations that we're going to have. So I'm really excited to start those relationships. But the guys that I really look at are the sinker slider guys, the guys that can really move the ball laterally. I know Musgrove's got that slider that he goes to a bunch. So there are different things that I can't wait to pick the brain of those two guys. And a little weird piece is Shingo, Yu Darvish's translator, was Tanaka's with the Yankees. So I got a good relationship. I can't wait to see Shingo again too.
Shingo's good people.
We're talking to Michael King here on Gwynn and Chris 97.3 The Fan. And Michael, you are now in the National League West. And unfortunately, the National League West includes the team that spent over $1 billion in free agency. But I just want to ask you, like, what are you looking forward to now that you're out of the AL East, and you're in the NL West taking on some of the best teams in baseball?
Yeah, I do think that the change from the AL East to the NL West isn't really that much, because you think of who are the best divisions in baseball, and I feel like that's the main conversation between those two divisions. So I think it's obviously totally different sides of the country, but similar talent. And then you got that super team over there with the Dodgers, and that lineup. It's going to be fun to face them. They're going to be challenging, and they're going to show you a ton of different looks. But I know that, again, our preparation is going to be there. I loved my conversation with Ruben in terms of the video analysis that we're going to do on hitters, and even the analytics side that we get from the Padres will be really fun to kind of piece together a game plan.
Michael King joins us here, Padres newly acquired pitcher. And Michael, I got to ask, man, have you thought about what kind of facial hair you're going to rock now that you are from up under the regime of the Yankees?
You do not want to see me with facial hair.
Oh,
I will be clean shaven. There might be a couple times where I was always afraid if I was going to get yelled at with the Yankees that I had a little scruff, but I get like kind of reddish in my beard, and my wife it, so I'm all good on staying clean shaven.
All right, yeah, happy wife, happy life.
let me
man.
ask you real quick, because we don't normally get a former Yankee on the show. How serious are the Yankees? You said you might get yelled at for some stubble, but that seems kind of crazy.
Yelled at is if you're going to talk to Aaron Boone about him yelling, besides
Good boy.
besides when he does it to the umpires, it's more of like a, hey, you mind shaving that before the game starts? That's really all. You never want to have those conversations with the manager. So I never wanted to be in that. But we always talk with I'm telling you, multiple guys every day will just be like, hey, you think I'm okay with this, or should I shave it? And they always shave it. So.
Yeah, no, it's the real deal. It's the real deal over there. Michael King joins us, and Michael, we're joking about the facial hair, but a lot of times guys come out of that organization and there's so much they're able to kind of bring with them. What are some of those things for you that that you're able to learn in an organization like the Yankees that you'll be able to take with you moving forward for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I think that the facial hair is almost trying to teach you more discipline, or at least continue your discipline. So I'll definitely be a disciplined player coming over. I also think that the competitive nature in that locker room was awesome. You had so much talent in there that you have to have some healthy competition amongst teammates. And thinking about pitching with Darvish and Musgrove is something that excites me. There's obviously I don't want anything but the best for them, but I know that they're going to be pushing me to be my best, just like I'm going to push them to be their best. So I think that competitive nature within the locker room is something that I'd love to bring over and make sure that everybody's going to be at their best of their ability.
Last one, you've mentioned his name a few times, but Ruben Niebla is pretty widely known as one of the better pitching coaches in this league. A pitching whisperer, if you will. I mean, how excited are you getting a chance to work with him on an everyday basis as you get ready to turn the corner here for spring training?
Yeah, I have heard nothing but good things about him. Every conversation I've had with him, I come away with it being like, God, I love that guy. He is the pitching whisperer. The one that I always go back to is he was with Kluber in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Kluber was somebody that I emulated growing up, or I guess coming up. I don't want to age him too much, but and the first thing I said to Kluber about, I just said, yeah, you had Ruben. I kind of was vague with it, and he was like, dude, I would not have won the 2 Cy Youngs I did without Ruben. He made me so confident in my ability, and he was the main reason why I won those 2 Cy Youngs. And so for somebody that I tried to emulate my mechanics and pitch sequences and even just my whole arsenal off of, is crediting Ruben. So now I have almost extra incentive to be a big fan of this guy. So I can't wait to get a full season in with him and see how he works with me.
Well, Michael, the Padres can't wait to get a full season in with you. We appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. Welcome to San Diego, and hopefully when you get out here next week, the weather will be nice for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Michael King, Padres soon-to-be starting pitcher for the Pods, spending some time with us. He seems like the type of guy you want in your clubhouse and on your team representing the organization. I tell you what, as soon as he said Corey Kluber, it was like, oh man, yeah, 100%. He emulates him. He looks a lot like Corey Kluber when you watch him on the mound, when you watch him throw the ball, his repertoire, all of that. It's always interesting to hear guys watch as they're trying to get better.
All I know is that I'm a huge Michael King fan now after that interview, and I think some of the fans out there are feeling the same way. People are ready for Michael King to ball out.
Yeah,
is what they're saying.
He's this guy is may not have had the same type of experience that Joe did, but that same type of kind of catching him as he's starting to take off could be the same type of deal for Michael King. Certainly the Padres are hoping so.
I like humble guys too. And he refused to let me call him the centerpiece of the trade. So, I mean, that comes with a lot of pressure too. So maybe it's a tactic of I'm not the centerpiece, so I don't need to over prepare or whatever.
Or it's as you perceived it to be, him just
He's
not
just
wanting
being
to.
humble. He does sound like a humble
not wanting
dude.
to take on that, the being the main piece and just wanting to go out there and I think it's also respect to the other guys who, as he said, they were on that deal. So nice to catch up with Michael King. First time getting an opportunity to talk to him. That's a guy that the Padres are going to be depending on next year. There's no doubt. You got Yu Darvish, you got a healthy Joe Musgrove, a healthy Yu Darvish as well. And then Michael King's the next guy up, at least that's projected to be in that spot for the rotation, barring nothing else happens.
Yeah, I got a DM during that saying, he sounds like such a nice guy, but does he have that dog in him? Well, listen, you don't pitch for the Yankees and pitch well for the Yankees if you don't have some dog in you.
Yeah, no, if he's been hanging around
Aaron Boone,
Corey Kluber.
Oh, Corey Kluber.
Nah, yeah, he definitely got a dog in him. Ultimately you find that out.
Yeah,
once the lights turn on.
And now it's a new year. I'm just ready for the season to start. I'm ready for you guys to be in Korea.
Spring training is that's not the actual schedule though, huh?
No, but it's like February, like 16th, something around there.
Mid-February.
Mid-February.
It's coming around the corner here pretty quick.
I know. I was talking to Sammy Lev the other day, and he said that he's starting to set in that he's going to be heading to Arizona for like a month and a half here real soon.
Sam was so funny at the end of his last spring training. It was his first full spring training. He was ready to go. He was ready to go home.
he was there for like a month and a half.
He was so ready to go home.
Yeah.
It was like Groundhog. I mean, it is Groundhog Day, basically, in spring training. So the first couple of weeks, a blast. Getting to see everybody again. Probably go out to dinner 100 times. But after those 2 weeks up, it's like, all right.
Now we need a break because we're going to see each other all season long.
All season long. All right. First hour in the can. Daily Gambit coming your way next. Cash in on some of these bets.
I don't know. That national championship game really did me in with my parlay.
Yeah, so. More Gwynn and Chris on the way. 1 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Chris Ella will join us in an hour or so. Where are the Aztecs at tonight?
Where did he go? Oh, he went to Wyoming. And he told us we can expect him on time because basically you fly into Laramie.
Laramie, yes.
You fly into Laramie and you just drive straight to the hotel. It takes like 10 minutes, Chris said.
Boom. So Chris will join us shortly.
The weather is out in Laramie right
now. It could be kind of chilly right around now. Huh?
Oh man, Chris is probably freezing. It's 25 degrees right now. Tomorrow, Chris is gonna have to deal with 22-degree weather. So
that sounds atrocious.
I don't know what Chris would be like in the cold. I feel like he's a guy who wears a light jacket saying he'll be okay, and then he just freezes the entire time.
Yeah, but he's also the type that if he's freezing the entire time, he's certainly not going to tell you.
Oh, he won't tell you. He'll just be
he'll be mad as hell, but he won't say anything.
He'll look like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, and he'll be like, "I'm so warm right now."
Yeah, that sounds like Chris. All right, we got some daily Gambit. We made some deals, some bets, I should say. Skraby, did his typical thing. Let's see how it all played out.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo!
If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. We're going to start with our bets from the national championship last night. I made a parlay to start everything. And, of course, the first leg of the parlay was Blake Corum to have under 102.5 rushing yards. I believe he had like 70 rushing yards in the first quarter or first half, basically. And then he ended up with around 140 something. I didn't even look at the exact number because the rest of the parlay is dead and I was angry.
Yes, it is dead. And
I think Romo Dunze, he was like 87 yards, so he was just short. And Michael Penix, I believe, had 255 yards passing. So that one hit, but the other two didn't. And I lose another parlay.
Of course.
Total points in the game last night, over under 56. It was a pretty low-scoring game there for a little bit. Then Michigan scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and it was 34-13, so 47 total points. Chris went under. Tony and I went over. It was under because the over-under was 56 points, as I said. Bummer.
I'm on a nice little losing streak right here.
Yeah, I'm joining you too. JJ McCarthy, quarterback of Michigan, over under 197.5 passing yards. Chris said under. Tony and I said over. He was under 140. At certain points, he wasn't even playing quarterback in the game. I don't know what Michigan was doing.
They had a whole other quarterback in there.
It was kind of weird. The Clippers last night, 5.5-point favorites over the Suns. Can we say, I know the NBA season is very long, but can we say this whole Suns experiment is not working?
It's not. Well, partly they haven't been able to be on the court at the same time. And it's the same problem that they had in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I mean, not Milwaukee, in Brooklyn with Kyrie and KD was and out. James Harden. So,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's I know the Clippers are outside of their L they took from the Lakers are rolling right now.
They are. They won 138-111, and all of us chose the Clippers, so we all won that one. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, over under 33.5 points scored in the game last night against the Wizards. We all went over, and he was just under. He had 32 points.
That guy's good.
He is good.
That's another loss. I got the Clippers right, so I'm 1 and 3 right now.
1 and 3. All right, Boston and Colorado Avalanche. The Avs, as Tony said yesterday, they were 1.5 goal favorites on the puck line. I chose Boston. Tony and Chris chose the Avs. Avs won 4-3, but they did not cover.
No.
They needed to win by 2. Tony's over here cheering, and I'm like, when's he gonna realize that he lost? 1 and 4. All right. Now I have a bunch of odds about head coaches in the NFL. So let's get started with Bill Belichick. The highest odds would be the LA Chargers plus 200. I don't see him personally. I don't see him going to the Chargers. I just don't see it. The Patriots for him to return plus 300. I think that's more likely than the Chargers.
Yeah, that could happen.
The Falcons, maybe him and Arthur Blank, they are friends, old friends, plus 500.
Does Belichick want to start from
with
scratch?
Desmond Ridder? No.
I guess he's not starting from scratch, but I don't see him going to Atlanta.
I don't either. Commanders are next, plus 600. I don't see him going there either. He doesn't really. That team is in
They all
shambles.
traded all their good players this year, so I don't think he's going
it's a
there.
reboot. Restart, I mean. Not the head coach of an NFL team.
I take those odds.
You'll take the plus 700.
I'll take those odds.
He just takes a year off or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Carolina Panthers, I don't think he'll ever choose them, but plus 1,000. Any other NFL team, plus 1,000. And then you got the Titans, the Giants, the Saints, and the Jets. Now, I know the Giants are only said because of his history with them, because they already have a coach in Brian Dable. I think they're keeping.
I think that's part of the reason why they're so far down.
Yeah,
the
and the
list.
Jets, would have to fire Robert Saleh. I don't see Bill Belichick and Aaron Rodgers getting along in any way, just because Bill Belichick is very no-nonsense in the public eye.
That seems like that's oil and water.
It does seem like it's oil and water. For the Chargers themselves, their next head coach, number one by a lot, Jim Harbaugh, minus 210.
Can they mess this up?
Yes.
They absolutely
yes, they can. Now, as I've said before, Jim Harbaugh coached the 49ers in the NFL. He coached very well. He got them to 3 NFC championships, but he also did not work well with the front office. So how is this going to turn out if he's a Charger head coach and he's got to report to Dean Spanos?
Maybe he's learned from his.
I mean, he got suspended twice this year.
I'm talking about in terms of dealing with front offices.
I don't feel like he's changed. Maybe he has. I can't say that for sure.
You
obviously.
were just defending the guy. Like, we're talking about Jim Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh.
You were just telling us yesterday how you thought that whole thing was the coaches just being a hater.
It was. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, it doesn't sound like he is gosh, I know Tony's looking at me like, hey, think about it. He doesn't seem like he is willing to take instruction from the top.
What gave you that?
Okay, can we just move forward? Because I'm going to talk myself into a corner. I got nothing else.
Fine.
I got nothing else.
Fine.
But Jim Harbaugh, minus 210. Jeff Smith, I'm sorry, the guy who's coaching the team already. It's spelled Giff, and I forgot it was Jeff. How can you spell? I'm sorry to Jeff Smith, but Giff. That's
wait.
Tough.
Is it really how he spells his name?
It is Jeff. Yeah. Because some people in the beginning were calling him GIF.
I see why.
Yeah, it's Giff is his name.
Are you messing with me?
No, I'm not messing.
That's how he spells his
Jeff.
name.
Jeff. Yes.
How is that Jeff?
So Jeff is also spelled Geoff.
At least it's on the path.
When I was a kid, we had a kid spelled that way in our school, and I called him Geoff the first time. I got made fun of, not Geoff.
I'm glad I made some of those mistakes, like speaking to myself. Like, if I was unsure of something like that, I would have definitely said,
well, I was in like second grade.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, there you go.
I was like, Geoff. My name's actually Jeff. And then I was Mr. Geoff for like the rest of the year. Ben Johnson plus 500. That's the guy that Adam Klug wants more than anyone.
He wants him as his Atlanta Falcons.
After his Atlanta Falcons fired Arthur Smith yesterday, he told Chris, Tony, and I in the back room before the show that Johnson is the guy.
It was only funny because the context is I was asking him, like, who will be your choice of coach? And I'm thinking like Bill Belichick, somewhat. And he said
Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, he said Ben Johnson.
Really? Who?
Like, what? But in his defense, Ben Johnson is a name that's being thrown around quite a bit. So
it is. It is.
Even though I didn't know who Ben Johnson was, Kluger did.
Yes, he did. And he said that he's been looking for head coaches because he knew his head coach was going to be dismissed at some point.
He wanted his head coach dismissed.
The only thing with Ben Johnson going to the Falcons is name-wise, that's the same thing to me as Arthur Smith.
Ben Johnson is the
Lions offensive coordinator?
Yes, that's right.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm going to trust Adam Klug on this one, though. He's usually pretty good with his Falcons stuff.
I tell you what, Ben Johnson don't have Jeff or Jared
Yes,
Goff
that's true.
on that team. So
no, he's got Desmond Ritter.
I don't know.
And then the Big Five, Arthur Blank talked about whether or not he regrets not signing Lamar Jackson in free agency.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what he said. So the rest of the coaches, Bill Belichick plus 600, Mike Vrabel plus 1,000, Eric Bieniemy on the head coaching. I don't think he's had a good enough year as an offensive coordinator.
He was struggling when he had the hottest offense on the planet to get a job as a head coach.
Yeah.
I'm sure after this year with the Commanders, it didn't help things, unfortunately.
Maybe he was too mean to all those players. Remember before the year when the players were like, he's too hard on us. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, or possibly former, he is the last in plus 1,400 odds.
See, that's the kind of move that the Chargers would make.
Yes.
They would do something that is just like WTF.
Kellen Moore, although not head coaching material in my mind, he's more head coaching material than Brandon Staley was. Brandon Staley was like a defensive coordinator for 2 years or something.
I'm not even talking about. I don't want.
No, you're right though. Kellen Moore is the hire that's
the type of move they would make.
Yeah, or they'll hire Jeff Smith. Next one, Mike Vrabel. His odds on head coaching teams. Let me start that over. His odds for his next head coaching hire. Patriots plus 200. I think that's the only place that he fits, but they already have a coach in waiting, I'm pretty sure, in New England. So
why is that the only place he fits?
Because of his history with New England. I mean, I guess he fits in other places.
Yeah, I think he can fit in any one of these places.
Okay, so Patriots
probably the highest profile.
Then you got the Falcons. Then you got the Commanders, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Bears.
I can close my eyes and literally see Mike Vrabel as every one of those coaches.
I think he wants an offense because he hasn't really had an offense for most of his coaching time.
He only had
Tannehill as his quarterback. He had A.J. Brown for a little bit.
He had A.J. Brown, and he had Derrick Henry too. So
true. And then he had Marcus Mariota for a little bit.
He had at least something to work with offensively.
He did. But I could see him being a command. If he's not Patriots, the Commanders seem like a place where he could turn them around.
I can see him as a Bears head coach.
Yeah, Matt Eberflus, I don't think is going anywhere, or Eberflus.
No, I don't think he is either.
But Mike Vrabel, we talked about this yesterday. I said that I personally don't think he's a great coach. I think he's an average NFL coach, and here are his stats. In the first 75
the numbers
games,
bear that out in the last 24.
They do. First 75 games of Mike Vrabel's head coaching career, he went 48-27, which was fifth best. His points per game was 24.2, which was 15th best. And then his last 24 games as the head coach of the Titans, he was 6-18, which is tied for 30th. And he scored 17.1 points, which was 29th worst, or 29th best.
The difference is in those last 24 games, which is the last 2 seasons and some change.
Quarterback
is the quarterback. Tannehill didn't continue to play at the level he was playing at.
Yeah.
And they've had to a hurt quarterback or a young quarterback in there, and it just hasn't worked.
It's true. It has not worked because they had Malik Willis that they drafted, and it seems like they're not very high on him. And they drafted him with a first or second round pick, so they have Will Levis.
It's important
now.
to remember Vrabel is a defensive guy.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. Even when at their height, when he was 48-27. They still only had average 24 points a game, which was 15th in the league. So he's middle of the pack. He's never been like the offensive guy.
I wonder what he would be like on a team like, say, the 49ers. Just like, are the 49ers set up to win, or is that like a Kyle Shanahan thing? He has a hand in it all too. I think
that they're as good as all of their parts, including
the top.
All
right, that's it for the Daily Gambit, Tony. Did you hear the latest rumor about Mike Tomlin? Wow, he really did. Tony gave me a sound effect. We're going to tell you on the other side. But first, your traffic report on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Start
4 o'clock hour, along with Bryce Miller, who joins us at the 3 o'clock hour, right? Next segment, Skraby?
No, 3:40.
3:40.
We
Yeah,
are
3
in the
o'clock hour. Yeah, that's what I said. So,
Oh, sorry.
let's talk a little bit about this new rumor that you were teasing before we went to break there.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin is a very well-respected coach on this show. Mike Tomlin also, I think, is feeling the grind of being an NFL head coach because there are rumors now that he may step away from his job as head coach of the Steelers to take a year off before finding a new team. And these are just rumors and all that stuff. But I don't think it's that crazy of a rumor because these seasons have been very tough on the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin has to handle everything that comes his way. And I can't believe he's handled it as well as he has this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure it becomes it wears on you after a while. Every year that you're not leading the division, there has seemingly been some rumors or conversation about either Pittsburgh needing to move on or Mike Tomlin needing to move on. And all he does is just goes out and, with I would say not the most talented teams in the last few years, has found a way to stay at 500 above. This year, they end up in the playoffs. And, those things wear on you, I think, over time. Now, how much of this should we believe in terms of if he's willing to step away, do a Sean Payton? I will say, I do remember Bill Cowher when he was the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the coach before Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
When he stepped away, it was thoughts that he was waiting on another job, and he never left the TV booth ever again after that.
It's probably much easier to do a TV
and you're
gig.
getting paid a good amount of money.
True, for
without
2 days a week.
The same type of the level of scrutiny that you get as an NFL head coach.
Instead of spending 18 hours a day on working, you spend maybe 3 hours a day preparing for the game that you have.
Two coaches in the last however many years. I mean, I've only known Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
Yeah.
Those are only two that have been the coach in my lifetime.
Mike Tomlin took over when he was 35 years old in 2007.
Yeah. And so he's going to be pushing
he's 51 now, so next year he'll be 52, and I think it's not crazy for me to think that he may step away for a year.
I don't think it's crazy at all.
He's also dealing with guys like George Pickens that he's probably just so tired of dealing with. He's tired of dealing with a team with no quarterback.
No, he also walked into a situation where he had Ben Roethlisberger as his as his quarterback.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So he's just now experiencing the trying to find a quarterback, and he's found a way to stay pretty good. I mean, 500 good at least.
Yeah, here's what the fans. I was reading a Pittsburgh Steeler tweet earlier, and the fans are basically saying we love Tomlin, but he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. That would be 8. It's coming up on 7 years.
What fans are saying that?
The Steelers fans. Yeah, that love Mike Tomlin, don't want him to go anywhere. But it's kind of like Marvin Lewis. Remember him? He was with the Bengals forever. They made the playoffs, but they never won a playoff game. And finally, they
sucked though for a long time too. Before they dismissed him. It wasn't like they just continued to make the playoffs and they decided to let him go. They started to go the opposite way. They weren't very good. That's how they got, some of the pieces they ended up getting.
I think it would be really hard for a coach to step away, a head coach to step away, because, like what Bob Melvin told us is that these head coaching managerial jobs do not come around often. And who knows if Mike Tomlin ever gets a job offer again. I'm sure he will, but you just never know. And this is Mike Tomlin's life. He's been there since 2007.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we'll see. I don't think he's going to walk away personally. I mean,
I would have a hard time believing that as well.
It's really hard to see. In other football news, something that I think has been, I don't want to say it's been apparent, but has been something that's crossed my mind as it pertains to Austin Ekeler and the running backs. There's a report out, and I don't know how much credence we can put in the report, but it says that he confirms that his Charger career is over after I think by most fantasy standards would be a lackluster year
Yeah, it was a
in
bad
that-
year.
in those terms.
It all started with Austin Ekeler leading the charge for running backs to get paid more, and then he kind of held out a little bit. He got new incentives on his deal. I don't think he made many of those incentives because he didn't have the opportunity. But Daniel Popper of The Athletic, I think Daniel Popper's the guy who kept asking Brandon Staley like when he's going to get fired or when he's going to give up the defense. But he said Popper's reporting that Austin Ekeler said, "I'm not going to be with these guys anymore, and it's one of those journeys that I'll always remember, but sad that it has to end." But then he kind of walked back in another report saying Austin Ekeler said his comments last night about not being with the Chargers anymore were just about not being with this group of players again. He said he isn't closing any doors on a return to the Chargers. I can tell you right now, unless they pay him the most money for a running back in the league, I think he's not going to be a Charger.
He's out.
He's already saying stuff like this.
I mean, that's just, clean up on aisle 5 right there. It's like, hey, man, don't close any doors, man. They might be the one to offer you, the most money. Who knows? But don't close that door. But he's likely not going back there.
He doesn't seem like he fits with that team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a fit. It just seemed like he took that personally, that whole holdout and how that played out for him. I think it didn't turn out the best.
The problem is he's probably not going to – he's still going to be looking for a big contract.
The question is, how old is Austin Ekeler?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Because, they got that number.
The running back number?
Age ain't nothing but a number for the NFL.
Derrick Henry turned 30, and he's like – everybody's already writing him off. He's 28.
Okay, so he'll
turn 29 in May.
He got 1 year of tread according to the NFL standards.
That is true. 30 is like it. Unless your name's Frank Gore, then you can possibly play longer than 30.
Yeah, man. It almost is in running back's best interest now to sign with a team that already has a running back.
Yeah, that's true.
If they're gonna hold tight to the idea that you can't carry the load once you turn 30, then you know what? Then why not try to maximize that and just go where there's a 2-back, where you could be, one of the 2 backs in that type of system. Just preserve your contact.
Because you don't get enough money.
Yeah, no, I know you don't.
Even if he scores 12 touchdowns, somehow someone's
you just have to
be
you have to be like unbelievable with the touches. It's almost like, remember, as the Cowboys hadn't quite made the transition from Ezekiel Elliott to Tony Pollard. Pollard was like gutting teams on like 12 carries, 13 carries.
Yeah.
That's what you almost have to feel like that's kind of the model that you should be trying to get. I know there's going to be every running back out there is going to be like, nah, I'm going to be the dude that can carry the load into my 30s.
Not many do it.
You're going to have to prove it.
Not many can do it.
That beating, that wear and tear that you are having to take, no matter how I don't know this to be fact, but I tend to believe no matter how much well you take care of your body, that type of toll is just that type of toll. You taking those hits, even the hits that don't even actually bring you down, you're still like taking contact.
Yeah. I know that Christian McCaffrey did a little bit of different training last offseason, and he did more like core strength because he was getting injured, and he didn't really get injured this year. He didn't miss a game outside of the last game. And so, I mean, it is.
I would love to know what his training regimen is, because he does seem to. If you take out the 2 years he missed in Carolina, those first however many years that he was there, that dude touched the ball so much.
And that's why he's paid as the most as a running back in the league. Here's real quick. I just Googled it. Christian McCaffrey workout consists of a 5-day cycle, generally includes 3 intensive lifting workouts, 1 football-specific movement workout, and an active recovery day. So basically, he just works out all the time. is what I'm gathering from this.
Yeah, you have to in order to look like that and to bounce back like that too.
Yeah.
His dad was also, I don't know if you've read up on Christian McCaffrey. His dad was
Ed McCaffrey.
Ed McCaffrey was a general when it came to how his kids ate, what time they went to bed. I think I heard Christian McCaffrey talking about this. Like, they had bedtimes of like 8:30 forever. Like, most of us graduated to like 9:30, 10 o'clock. They never graduated. They stayed there. They ate right. Like, Mr. McCaffrey was on it when it
Seems
came
very,
to
very strict, and it sounds a little stressful to me.
But
actually.
look, he has a literal machine though playing in the NFL
does
right now.
He does, and Christian McCaffrey seems like he turned out okay.
Yeah, he did. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, Bryce Miller joins us next. Talk a little Padres and a little bit about Mark Sweeney. He wrote that article today. We'll get into that a little bit as well. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
What we don't want.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing well. First, a quick check-in with you. How's everything going with you and your health and all that?
We're plugging along. It's been now a couple of months since they ended chemo, and the results were pretty good. And I've got some other treatment and a few surgical things coming, but you just plug along and on to the next. And a lot of people, unfortunately, in this world deal with it. So you're nowhere close to alone, and you understand that you're lucky. There's a lot of people who've dedicated themselves to the medical profession and developed expertise, and people that care about strangers at first. That as you move along, it's you learn a lot of lessons throughout this, that's for sure. But feeling pretty good. Yeah, doing okay.
Good. Certainly continue the prayers for you, man. Happy to hear that you're doing well. Let's start with the Padres offseason so far has been relatively quiet, but they have been able to shore up that back end of the bullpen, albeit with some guys that I haven't necessarily pitched in the big leagues, but highly touted nonetheless. And they're trying to figure out a way to piece this thing together, it seems like, Bryce.
Yeah, with Go and Matsui, as you said, it seems like they have put together, a couple of pieces at least that they need in the back of that bullpen. I think people are worried that they haven't, found another frontline starter, if not two, and you've got outfield spots open, and Jake Cronenworth's the only regular who hits from the left side, and on the current 40-man roster, you almost feel like they have to deal with that in some way. And so you wait to find out. I mean, we all know that AJ Preller, it's not unusual for him to wait, late in the process, closer to spring training, maybe to pull a trade or make a move. And maybe with things going on financially at the Padres, they're being a little more careful about letting the market come to them on some marginal guys. And because it has been crazy, some of the money just average guys are getting paid. It just seems like all of a sudden within a year or two, the financial component of putting a roster together, that the game has changed. So might look back in a year and say they didn't fill their needs, or we might look back in a year and say they were pretty smart to wait till some of that cost came down, and they found pieces that fit. You only have to go back a year to what they got, a huge bargain in both Seth Lugo and, Michael Wacha. So Preller has the ability to find players, but it just seems like the shopping list this offseason is pretty long.
Yes, it does. We're talking to Bryce Miller of San Diego Union Tribune here on 97.3 The Fan, Gwynn and Chris. And I'm going to read this excerpt that Bob Nightingale published the other day. And it ends with this. And he's talking about the Padres. Their World Series aspirations have melted into the goal of merely qualifying as a wild card contender. Now, I'm not asking you to comment on Bob Nightingale, but that statement that he made, do you think that's a fair statement or no?
I doubt anybody in the front office or anybody organizationally feels like that's what they're trying to do, but they've certainly, with where they stand financially, what they had to do with Juan Soto, all the things that we've written about and you guys have talked about that are kind of obstacles as they move along in the timeline. You understand why people might get that sense. But it's also, the flip side of that coin is it may not be the Padres making a dip, in a sense of talent and what they need. I mean, that the jury's still out on that until we get to the spring. But it's also the Dodgers kind of, exponentially moving in front. A team that already wins the division year after year, a team that wins the division many times by, 20 games. And then they add Ohtani, then they add Yamamoto, then they add Tyler Glasnow, then they, and Teoscar Hernandez. And so I think some of the sense of that is just everything the Dodgers did too, and that gap that certainly looks like it exists. But as we know, and as the Padres found out 2 seasons ago, it's not what you do in the regular season to a degree, as long as you get the playoffs, because the Dodgers won every season series and every individual series. But the Padres got them in the playoffs. So you get in, you give yourself a chance, and look at the Diamondbacks get hot at the right time. It's money, as the Padres learned last year, doesn't guarantee anything. You still got to find the right chemistry and mix.
Bryce Miller, San Diego Union Tribune, joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Bryce, there's been a lot made of the deferrals that the Dodgers have been able to put together. And as we discussed in our show yesterday, that happens. It just doesn't happen at the magnitude that you saw it happen for Ohtani.
Right.
But do you think you start to see this trend from other teams? Maybe obviously not at the level of Ohtani, but does this start to kind of catch? It's a copycat league. Does this start to kind of happen across the board now, a lot more publicly?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. It's just the Dodgers found a way to build a better mousetrap potentially in terms of what the average annual value is against the competitive balance tax every year. I mean, I think the huge reaction when the news came out is everybody thought, now wait a second, is this Ohtani only counts against the CBT for $2 million a year? No, he really counts. It's somewhere in the 40s. I forget the exact number, but it's not $70 million, every year in terms of the competitive balance tax. But it was nothing illegal. It was just they found a way. Now there's risk involved when you get to the point after 10 years that you're really going to have to start paying that money, even though the Dodgers have the most lucrative, television deal in baseball, and the group behind the ownership group is just, loaded with cash. That's going to test anybody when they get to that point. So you wonder what that looks like for the Dodgers, a decade down the road. But they're willing to roll the dice over this next decade and try to win 2, 3, 4 World Series and say it was worth it, and then we'll deal with the checkbook down the road. But it's one of those things till they go back and have a new collective bargaining agreement. I get the sense there were enough owners and people in baseball who are a little frustrated by it that I think it'll get looked at. I don't know what'll happen with it, but it certainly will be talked about. But they just found a way to defer some of that, all that money and try to win now. And it's an interesting approach. I guess it'll be a long time before we know if it worked out.
Yes, it will be a long time. We're talking to Bryce Miller of the San Diego Union Tribune here on Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. And I've been seeing this floating around social media for a while now, and you may not know the answer to it, but you've talked to a lot of people within the organization, and people want to know whether or not the passing of Peter Seidler has any effect on how this offseason has gone. And my answer usually is probably not, because AJ Preller was in charge anyway. But what do you think? Have you spoken to anyone? Is there anything that's changed since the passing of Peter Seidler?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't really talked to anybody in deep detail. Talked to Eric Grupner before the Holiday Bowl, kind of tied to that, about all the events that they're hosting at Petco and how that works with the lease and the relationship with the city, who gets 30% of, all the revenue and all the non-baseball revenue with those events. And we got into them talking about reining it in on the free agent side and maybe not being a competitive balance tax penalty team, not being a payor, but getting back to being a payee. And so, if Peter was still around, I don't think it really changes any of the financial realities of the things that the team is kind of dealing with now.
Yeah.
So I don't know that any of that changed. Now, would his will to do A, B, or C, would his sense of risking more dollars here and there, which he did over and over in recent years, maybe. But in my mind, if you really just go to the 10,000 foot altitude, I don't think it would have changed any of the financial realities. It wouldn't have changed Bally, going bankrupt, and on and on. So it's hard to know exactly, but even if they, as Grupner told me, if they end up around 200 million, that's still a top 10 payroll in baseball and closer to top 5 potentially. So it's not like there's no money, there's no effort. It's not a complete 180 degree turn. It's how they manage it moving forward. And So it's hard to know, but I don't think that really would have changed much.
Bryce Miller joins us here, San Diego Union Tribune. And Bryce, you wrote a while back about Mike Schilt, the Padres' new manager. Everything's kind of quiet down since he's kind of taken the job, but having spend some time around Mike, he does seem suited to kind of handle, some of the things that may have gone wrong the last year. What's your take on Mike Schilt as we get ready to roll into spring training here?
Yeah, I obviously wrote that's the direction I thought they should go in. I was a fan of the hire in terms of getting a real true blue baseball guy.
Yeah.
I liked Bob Melvin, still do. And I think there's a more complex, nuanced story about what happened there.
Yeah.
In that situation. But Mike Schilt is just a rock solid baseball guy. It was differences of opinion and working together with the front office that got him let go in St. Louis. They won every year. They were a good baseball team when Mike Schilt was the manager, and there's no reason to think, the more you talk to people about him and the more you hear the stories about how he handles things. And I remember at the time I called Greg Garcia, the former Padre, and he told me a bunch of stories about him. And he's a guy who's been in this game for a really long time. He's won in this game for a really long time. He's got a good sense, and I think he's got a good balance of, when to hit the hot button and when to hit the cold button. Because it's a long grind, as you know, Tony, a long season, and you can't be one of those guys all the time. You've got to really pick your spots to be effective. And I think that balance and that ability to manage a room full of a lot of different personalities and paychecks, I think he's really well suited to that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Bryce, appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, man. Spring training, it's not that far. It's coming around the corner.
Not that far. Got a little Aztec basketball between now and then too.
A lot of Aztec basketball between there and now. Hopefully.
Real quick, Bryce, do you think that them not being ranked until this week is just the biggest travesty going on in college basketball right now?
Well, I don't know about the biggest travesty in college basketball, but it was strange to see, Gonzaga still be in the rankings after, the Aztecs won up there by double digits in a place that's really hard to win. Yeah. They've won their last 5 games by double digits. They're playing with a lot of new pieces that make you think they're going to get better over time, which they always have done under Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher. Because you did replace, a lot of guys. But I didn't know if this team could be 9 deep in the rotation like it was a year ago. But right now they're playing about 9 deep. Yeah. And so those guys who are getting more minutes are getting better fast. And so I think the arrow's up on them for sure. And they were going to work their way back into the rankings anyway. But they got a game this week, and then Saturday, I think it's Saturday there at the Pit in New Mexico. That'll be a big one. That'll be a good barometer litmus test to see where they're at, because that's a really tough place to win.
Yeah, through the amount of games they've played thus far, this is as good as they've looked this early. And I would venture to say that year that the season got canceled. They've looked really good to start this year. Bryce, as always, man, appreciate catching up with you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bryce Miller, Union Tribune. Always nice to catch up, especially to hear that everything's looking like there's moving in the right direction in terms of his own health.
That's scary,
for sure. But he's right, man. There are a lot of folks who are Aztecs, or who are covering the Aztecs that feel the same way. It's quite weird to see them not in the top 25 as long as it was, even after the Gonzaga beat down.
Now, please, if I'm not going to put anything in the universe, but I would hope that they wouldn't banish them after like one loss, like usually happens to Mountain West teams or just the Aztecs. Actually,
get ready.
Well, they're not going to lose, so they're not going to lose, so it's all right.
That'd be great too if they decide not to lose. All right, let's get to break. We have the 4:00 hour coming. Chris Ella will finally join us. Hopefully, because we do have a Chris versus the Fan that's
might be pushed back or might be canceled for today.
We'll see. We're going to Chris on the way. Matt Skraby, and now we are joined by none other than Chris Ello. Hello, Chris. How are you, man? I assume you got to be freezing right now.
I found the only place on earth that's colder than San Diego, Laramie, Wyoming, where it's, I don't know, it's probably in the high teens, something like that. And the wind is just blowing like crazy.
That sounds awful.
And you know this, you know how far the walk is from we're lucky enough to get a charter on this trip because it's so hard to go to Laramie. So you know when you take a charter flight, the bus pulls up like 10 yards away from the airplane.
Oh, so you got to cut through that wind.
Just walking those 10 yards, I was frozen. I mean, that was all it took. So I'm happy to be in my room, and I will probably stay in my room for the entire trip.
When I went to Minnesota for the Super Bowl that one time, it was 5 below zero basically the entire time. So you know what me and old Judson Richards did? We took a bunch of walks through 5 below zero and just experienced the cold.
Why? You know how to walk. You don't really need to experience that cold.
But I gotta say, I've never been really in 5 below before, and 5 below was freezing. I think my mustache froze, and that's not a joke.
I think once you get like into single digits, I don't think it matters a whole lot anymore.
Tony said
it really doesn't matter. It's a wrap.
Once you get, first of all, I don't know that I've been in single digit weather. I don't know that I would ever leave whatever warmth indoor at all.
And even if you cover up,
it's not a move.
There's no covering up. There's no layering when it gets to single digits.
It goes right through you. It cuts right through everything.
You layer as much as you can, but you've got to have your head covered. You've got to have your face covered. Your ears and hands are crucial to be covered, by the way. Just a little tip for those of you that have to be in that kind of weather one of these days.
Oh, that sounds so miserable. All right.
The Dolphins are going to be playing in it on Sunday.
No kidding, man. I can't believe they're going to play a football game in this stuff.
That's right. The Dolphins will be in terrible Kansas City weather.
Yeah, they have so many excuses to lose that game that they might as well just stay home. I mean, honestly.
Don't even get on the plane. Just stay there.
No, nobody's giving them any chance, and I don't even know if they're giving themselves a chance. So we'll see.
All right. We do have a Chris versus the fans coming your way. Chance to qualify for the grand prize. 2 tickets to Tom Kiefer and LA Guns on April 11th in a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort Casino. Get ready for an electrifying night of rock and roll as 2 iconic bands, Tom Kiefer and LA Guns, come together to perform live on April 11th, 2024 at Westgate International Theater at Westgate Las Vegas Resort Casino. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovation, home of legendary Vegas fun. Without further ado, let's play some Chris versus the fans.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, here are the rules for the game. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult as we go along. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player! Thank you, guys.
Whoa.
That was That was a great one. Just let us know before the first question, and you will get that for free today.
Boom.
I know the answer to this question. Who is the dumbest organization in sports today? The Tennessee Titans.
Oh, wow.
You don't.
What were they thinking? What are they thinking?
Better. They're looking to get better.
They're not going to. They're not going to.
The Dolphins can have Vrabel then.
Well, no, they're not going to. Why would the Dolphins fire their coach?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Skraby was going for on that one either.
Yeah, let's go. He's going for a laugh, and he missed miserably.
And we're gonna have to get into this because Tony and I are both like,
It's just I'm not surprised, but I also didn't think they would fire.
I don't know why they think they're going to be better. I mean, the Patriots just said thank you very much. Honestly.
Yeah. See, now the Patriots got
to.
it'll be interesting. We'll see how it plays. Let's play the game. We got
Yeah.
Christian on the as our first contestant of the game. Christian, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going
Pretty
well.
good.
Hey, Christian.
Here we go. First question. Name the Padres pitcher that was on our show earlier.
Michael King.
Yeah.
Boy, Christian.
Christian was listening. Here we go.
He gets double points for that.
At number 2. Jim Harbaugh coached what school after leaving USD?
I know he's the coach of Michigan. I don't know.
Hello?
Stanford Cardinal, my friends.
That is correct.
It is indeed.
Pulled off one
Sorry,
of the
Christian.
greatest upsets in college football history as a 42-point underdog. He beat USC.
Yes,
Wow.
he did.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Let's go to our next contestant, Jason. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
First question. Who is Al Michaels' right-hand man on Thursday Night Football?
I can't remember his first name. Testeroni. He used to be on Monday Night Football, I believe.
Testeroni. I like Testeroni. Testator, I think is what he was going for.
Testeroni. Testator.
Showtime!
Yeah, there he is. But that's not it.
There, you going to hit the air button?
Oh, sorry.
Jeez Louise. Yes, no. Testeroni is not it.
Testeroni.
But I wish I would have thought of it before the caller did. I love that nickname. Kirk Herbstreit will be what we're looking for, I believe.
Sorry, Jason.
Herb Street is the name. We'll move on.
Good one, though, Jason.
Yeah. Testeroni.
Testeroni is how we're going to call him for the rest of the time.
Jason, we seriously got to stop calling him that because it's going to be his name permanently in my head.
Joining us on the Premier Chevrolet Carlsbad Fan Hotline, Testeroni.
Let's go to Joey, our next contestant. Joey, how are you? Happy Tuesday.
Doing well, man. How about you guys?
We're doing
Pretty
well.
good.
Here we go. First question. Name the Rams starting quarterback right now.
Matthew Stafford.
Indeed. On to question number 2. Jim Harbaugh, as a player, took his last snap in the NFL for what team?
Oh, was it the Patriots?
Patriots.
Stay there.
Hello for the steal.
Not sure if Chris knows.
Yeah, this is a good one. I know he finished up with the Colts, but I have a feeling he snuck to another team right at the end, but I have to guess the Colts.
The Colts.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Joey, you're moving on. It was the San Diego Superchargers.
He took his
I know it
last
was at the
snap.
Yeah.
He didn't have
No, I
stats
didn't-
after that.
Last
Yeah,
snap.
I
with
knew he was a
Chargers.
Charger, but I thought he was a Charger before a Colt. Okay,
I thought he
good
was
job.
before a Colt too.
I didn't say
Yeah.
last team.
Did he go back to the
No,
Colts twice?
He came back to the Chargers?
Let me look.
Wait, what are you talking about? He definitely took some snaps for the Colts, but
Yeah,
you
he
better
was
look
good
at
with
it.
I see. Let me just look real quick at Jim Harbaugh, Pro Football Reference, because he was a player as well. He went Chicago, Colts, Baltimore, and then he ended his career with the Chargers.
All right. There it
Okay,
is.
Perfect.
All right,
good
Joey,
for
you're
you.
still there.
Joey, you're on.
Joey,
Still
for the win.
alive.
Here we go.
Still
Yeah.
alive.
For the finale. Name the last 3.
I'm sorry. You have to. Outside of last night.
Not counting last night's Michigan-Washington game. Name the last 3 college football playoff losers. Losers.
Oh, man. I was just looking this up, too.
Oh, no.
I know Georgia won twice. Who'd they play?
I don't have an answer for you.
Stay there,
Hang on.
Joey.
Let's see if Chris can give us the 3.
Well, I know it was TCU last year,
Horns up.
and I believe Georgia beat Alabama the year before that, and I think Alabama beat Ohio State, but LSU got in there and beat somebody. Oh no!
Oh, no.
Who did LSU beat? LSU, I think, is after Alabama. LSU, boy, they beat somebody bad. Totally blanking out.
So what's your guess?
I'm going to say TCU,
Okay.
Alabama,
Okay.
and I'm praying it comes to me, but it's not coming to me. So I'll say Ohio State, and I think Joey won.
Oh, we did
I'm
not.
sorry,
win.
Joey.
God.
You got it. Even though you
I
were trying to
got it.
talk yourself out of Ohio State. That was the answer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
LSU
Sorry.
played was it Ohio State?
Yes, I believe it was.
So they played Ohio State too. Okay.
I just looked this
Oh wait,
up.
was it?
No, it wasn't.
No, it was Alabama.
I just
I
looked
can't
this
remember
up.
who
Hold on.
else. Oh no.
No.
can't
I'm
remember
Those
looking
are
for,
definitely the 3 teams.
Yeah.
I just don't remember who
Clemson.
lost. Oh, Clemson. That's
oh,
right.
LSU beat Clemson.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
Well, I got lucky there.
Well, Chris Ello is officially on the show, ladies and gentlemen. That was a Chris versus a fan. He actually lost. Oh no, sorry, he actually won.
Yeah. We're
Joey
still-
lost.
Yes, Joey lost.
Joey lost.
Joey got close though.
He did.
It was a good fight there. All right, let's get to break.
We're not gonna have a winner?
Oh, that's right. We gotta keep going. Sorry.
Skraby, can you please teach Tony the rules of the game?
Let's go. I'm looking at the clock and it's 4:13 and I'm just dialed in
Hey,
on
I'd rather you be
getting
looking at
out
the
on
clock.
time. So, Rich, you're our next contestant.
I was like, whoa, okay.
Sorry.
What's
Everybody.
up, guys?
What's up, Rich?
Welcome, Rich. Here we go. First question.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah, saved by the clock. Who received the number 1 spot in the AFC playoffs this year?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Indeed, they did.
Nice job.
Question number 2. What Michigan running back ran for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns just last night?
Number 7.
We're going to need something a little more than number 7.
Vermont.
Stay there. You never know with Chris.
Yeah, I don't know his first name, but I'm pretty sure his last name was Edwards because I remember I said it during the show.
Whoa!
No!
Is that correct?
Let's go.
Blake
Oh.
Corum was
Yeah.
the guy.
Oh, Corwin did.
got to
huh? I thought
134.
Edwards. Oh, what Edwards have? He didn't have that.
He
many,
didn't.
I guess.
Yeah, he actually had like very few
He had
carries
those
on
2
the season.
he had those two
Oh,
touches.
Okay.
All right,
okay.
well,
Wow.
All right,
Rich,
good
you
for
into
you.
the next round, man. Here we go. Let's go, Rich. Name the last player to have won a Heisman and a Pro Bowl in the NFL.
And made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, made the Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kyler Murray.
Ooh. Once again, stay there, Rich. Chris.
Well, this is not an easy one. I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow. Take my shot.
You are guessing correctly today. I'm sorry,
Yes,
Rich.
I
We
Sorry, Rich.
are into the
Tiebreaker. Should we stay with Jim Harbaugh's stats, or did we do him yesterday? No, we did Otis Redenbacher.
No, we did
Otis Redenbacher. No, we didn't.
Who was it? Otis what?
It was Otis Nixon.
Otis
Yeah,
Nixon.
there we go. Should we just do Jim Harbaugh since he's already up on my computer?
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so tiebreaker. Tony, who are you gonna go with?
I only see one, Peter.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good choice. Great choice, Tony. Peter, you know how to play the tiebreaker, right?
I do, and I wanted to make sure I rebounded from my awful performance yesterday. And Tony, be gentle because I'm wearing a Boston Celtics hoodie right now.
Oh, man.
So good luck. That's
That's
good.
bad stuff, man. All right. Jim
best
Harbaugh.
team in basketball.
Tony can't
Some
say
would
anything.
say.
Tony can't say anything. All right,
Yeah,
Chris.
Tony won't agree with you though.
How many touchdown passes did Jim Harbaugh have in his career?
How many years did he play, my friend?
He went 7, 11, 13, 14.
14 years? I'd say 10 per year would be 140. Say 150. Let me give him a few more.
All right, 150. Peter, is the actual answer higher or lower than 150?
I could remember him having some pretty decent seasons, so I'm going to say higher.
Higher. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter.
Man.
It's that Celtic hoodie.
I didn't bring you the type of luck
He
you
had
needed.
129 touchdowns. A
Ah.
lot less than I thought. I thought Jim Harbaugh, from my memory, he was like a career starter, but I'm looking.
No, he wasn't. He was a backup
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
He was a backup quite a bit.
All right, let's go to our next contestant for the tiebreaker. Andy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's
Hey,
up,
Andy.
man?
Attaboy, Andy.
Love
Bring
it.
a little
Love the
enthusiasm.
energy.
Let's go. All right, Chris, since we just talked about him and his how many games he started, how many games did he start in the NFL?
All right.
This is
In
gonna be
10
tough.
years, he started
14 years.
14 years, thank you. I started I think on average only about 5. I'm going to say 70 starts.
70 starts.
7-0.
Andy, actually answer higher or lower?
Oh boy, that's right.
Say that again. You broke up. Andy?
Uh-oh.
Andy.
Oh, hello?
Okay, there you are. Is it higher or lower?
Oh, higher.
Higher. I'm yelling. You are correct, sir.
All right.
Stay there, Andy. Stay there.
All right, Andy.
Actually, he started a lot of games, 140 games started
had
in his career.
He had a
Okay.
stretch there where he was starting quite a bit. I do remember
in
that.
Indianapolis, I know he started quite a bit, but I didn't know if it was.
He had
I didn't know how much.
He had 2 seasons playing 16 games with the Bears. He only played 16
Okay.
games twice in his career, but he did
I forgot
play
about the
double-digit
Bears.
games.
That's right. All right,
Oh, man. My grandpa, when he got drafted to the Bears, my grandpa was so pumped on it.
we got to get to break. It's 4:18, dog. Let's get to break.
418, dog.
Let's get to
Wow,
break.
Tony's on point today.
What the heck is going on?
Let's get to break. Andy, hang on the line there. When we come back, we got some breaking news in terms of
what?
MLB free agency.
Padres?
Maybe. We'll talk. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by California Coast Credit Union. Seeing a little relief on our road.
4:25 on the clock. Tune in to kick off with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti. Every week, Boomer and Valenti preview the entire slate of NFL games, analysis from Boomer, picks from Mike, the biggest stories in the league packed into an hour. Friday nights at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan, and always live on the free Odyssey app, presented nationally by Cosamigos Tequila. Cosamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. I teased some breaking news. Shall we? Do you need to do the little breaking news breaker? Or is that what's going on?
This is breaking news from 97.3 The Fan.
Do you need to do the little news breaker?
There's the little
Depends
news.
whether Joe Mauer retired or not.
Right.
Good luck. I know exactly what he's trying to say right now.
The Cubs have signed pitcher Shota Imanaga.
Wow, nice job, Tony.
Yes, I'm gonna get good at this by the end of this season. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be real nice.
It's just too bad he plays for the Cubs, not the Padres.
He goes to the Cubs. Terms of the deal have not yet been released. At least I haven't seen them. But Imanaga is a left-handed pitcher coming out of Japan. He lands with the Cubs. So that's your breaking news in terms of the baseball free agency, not the Padres, unfortunately. Chris, you did have something you wanted to kind of hit on before we went to break here.
Yeah, I really did, and it's a sad bit of news that I have to share. One of my friends in sports is a guy by the name of Ron Hahn. He owned the Sports Arena for many years. He owned the San Diego Gulls hockey team, created the Western Hockey League, and employed me as the broadcaster there for over a decade. His son, Ernie Hahn, is a good friend of mine, and Ron passed last night. And he had been feeling ill for the last several months, and got word of his passing today. And I just wanted to send along all my best wishes to Ernie and the entire family, the Hahn family. Tony, you know what it's like to be a broadcaster and to have an owner who is 100% behind everything you say on the radio and everything you do, and enjoys listening to your broadcasts, and used to call me in my hotel room after road games and say that he enjoyed listening to the game. And he was really 100% behind me, and that helped make what I did for the Gulls great. And for all of the hockey fans in San Diego, I know we have the American Hockey League now, but for many years, the Western Hockey League was what we had, and the Gulls won 5 Taylor Cup championships when Ron Hahn was the owner, and he helped put that entire league together. And he was a great guy and a great man and a good friend, and he's going to be missed. And I just want to thank the Hahn family for everything they did for me. Yeah. And everything they did for all of the fans in San Diego who loved hockey and who still love hockey, and everything else that happened at the sports arena. Ernie ran the sports arena for many years after Ron retired, and it's a big name in San Diego history. Yeah. I mean, Ron Hahn's father was also named Ernie, and he was the guy who built Horton Plaza originally. So they were big movers and shakers in this town, and Ron Hahn did a lot of great things for a lot of people, and I'm going to miss him. It was very sad to hear the news today.
Yeah, prayers up for the Hahn family as they go through this difficult time, but certainly nice of you to kind of share some of your thoughts on the situation, Chris, before we go to break. All right, let's get to our break. We have a Big Five, and as you would expect, Mr. Skraby, he's got some Dodger worries in there. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I think I actually have Dodger worries.
Oh, they appear to be Dodger worries, at least in the beginning.
All right, fine.
We'll talk about it. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Talk about it.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
It's the worst thing that bands do. Period. The end.
Do an impression of Bob.
Had to let that breathe a little bit. 4:36 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Chris Ello joins us from Laramie, way out in the cold. Chris,
now, have you ever been to Laramie, Tony?
I have not.
Baseball, they didn't play up here, right?
No,
There was
baseball
team when you were playing.
I avoided. Somehow I got lucky and avoided.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't put it on. I wouldn't put it on your bucket list. Or
Oh,
anything.
it's not. Don't worry. I had to go to Air Force a few times, and that was.
Don't worry. It's not on my bucket.
I had to go to Air Force a few times, playing some snow there. That wasn't the greatest, for sure. But
you probably had a similar feeling to Ezekiel Elliott when you played. In snow.
Yes, it kind of sucks,
Like,
right?
It looks really cool, but it kind of sucks.
100%, same feeling. We haven't talked about it extensively, or we haven't talked about it a lot, Chris, but it seems like there's some little ping pong going on between Jimmy Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers. I didn't see Jimmy Kimmel's little kind of.
Yeah, he took a lot of his show last night. Actually, his monologue, his opening monologue, he spent 5 or 6 minutes.
I was looking for.
Yeah, talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation. And Jimmy Kimmel was very eloquent in what he said and how he spoke. And, but he was pretty pointed in his comments. I mean, the one thing he said that stood out to me is that Aaron Rodgers is so arrogant and so egotistical that he doesn't realize when he's being stupid. And, he backed up.
Well
I know that is.
I'm sure it did, but I think there's a lot of truth to what he said. I mean, for Aaron Rodgers to basically accuse Jimmy Kimmel of being a pedophile and not having the guts to apologize for saying so. And he had every opportunity to apologize on the Pat McAfee show today. And instead he doubled down and he said that Jimmy Kimmel's an idiot because he didn't say that he was a pedophile, but he did insinuate it by claiming that Jimmy Kimmel was going to be on that Epstein list. And this thing's getting worse. And it's going to be interesting to see if ABC/ESPN, ever does step in and try to quash this thing. Because it seems to me as long as Aaron Rodgers is coming on Pat McAfee, he's going to be willing to be taking people on, and Jimmy Kimmel's going to be at the top of his list because he didn't like Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah,
so,
although he didn't apologize, which I think people were expecting, or I don't know if people were actually expecting Aaron Rodgers to apologize. Right. I don't think that was ever going to happen, but he did seem to walk back the statement of, Jimmy Kimmel being on a list. And I'm saying that only to say that Aaron's no dummy. He knew that he probably went farther than he should have. And although he didn't apologize, he certainly knew he had to at least take the time to try to walk those comments back, because it could have led to a place that I don't know that he necessarily wanted to go.
No, I mean, Aaron Rodgers' comments, as you like to say, Tony, were very much out of pocket. And, I think everybody who's interested in this controversy should try to find Jimmy Kimmel's monologue last night, because I think he stated it very well and fairly, to be honest with you. So count me on Jimmy Kimmel's side on this one.
Word up. All right, let's check some traffic. Get to the Big Five.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your 15-minute instant drive-through oil change. Got a few problems here, guys. Crash on northbound 67 at Winter Gardens. It's over the right shoulder now, so it looks like speeds are slowly starting to pick up through that area. Collision on the Rayo Drive off-ramp westbound 54, and still clearing an accident from the Via de San Isidro off-ramp up southbound 5. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts, locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
You know, the one thing about the Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Kimmel situation that comes to my mind is that it's so good that I feel like it's staged or something for press. But I know that's not the truth. I just can't believe that this is actually happening.
So juicy, you mean?
Yeah, it's so juicy. That's right.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's. I mean, it's, you know, the thing is it's kind of becoming political now. I mean, this whole notion of, you know, Aaron Rodgers on one side and the conservative angle and anyway, I don't want to get into the political part of it.
No, I was listening, Chris. Will you please go on and break it down for me?
Yeah, you know, that's a road I better just stay off of.
All right. Let me save you for once. I'll save you for once.
Number 5.
We all know what the Dodgers have done this offseason free agency wise, but what are other teams in the NL West doing? I can tell you the Rockies have not spent a lot of money to bring guys in. One article I read said they have spent $0 on free agents this offseason. Then you have the Diamondbacks who signed a few guys, but nothing huge. The Giants, on the other hand, have had their hand in some big money signings like Jung-Ho Lee to a $113 million contract. They also traded for Robbie Ray as well. Tony, do you think the Giants will be playoff contenders this year?
No, I don't. I think even with the holes the Padres have now, they still have a better team than the Giants. Diamondbacks had a better team last year. They got better. Dodgers are certainly better. So, no.
All right. Chris, do you think they're going to be playoff contenders, the Giants?
Well, first of all, I take exception to this notion that the Rockies haven't done anything. They went out and got Cal Quantrill.
Yeah, but he was DFA'd, so.
Come on. The Rockies are making an effort over here. No, I agree with Tony. I think the Giants have to start the season slotted in the number 4 spot. And, you know, I think the Padres are still ahead of them. And I know the Diamondbacks should be slotted ahead of them. So 4th place, pretty unlikely you're going to make the playoffs. You'd have to be in a division that is so good that, you know, all 3 wild card teams come from the same division. And I don't expect that to quite be the case in the NL West. So I'm going to say the Giants are not quite a playoff contender.
All right. Did you guys know Robbie Ray is going to miss the first half of the year as well, recovering from Tommy John? So they won't even have him until the second half of the season.
No, I did not know that.
I'm just going to cherish this moment right now real quick.
Number 4.
Well, the hope is that you're actually correct with that statement.
Yes, that is also true.
Anytime I say something and everybody in the room's like, I don't know about that, I get a little nervous.
You get worried, right?
I get
you're
worried.
Getting misinformation.
Yes. So this was the final year of a 4-team college football playoff, and next year the playoff is going to be expanded to 12 teams. Brian McFadden of CBS Sports put out a list of teams he thinks are going to be a part of the 12-team playoff. And I know this is just a really way too early prediction, but it's nice to have these names in here. So this is what we could see next year for the 12-team college football playoff. Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, Utah, Notre Dame, Alabama, Texas, Michigan, Missouri, Oregon, Liberty, James Madison. Chris, do you think this would be an exciting lineup of teams?
Those are the 12. Those are the teams that finished in 12.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I disagree with him on Liberty and James Madison.
Yeah,
I can't imagine they're going to take 2 teams from less than power conferences to get into the playoff. They're going to be lucky to get 1 bid. And, you know, to be honest, Liberty really did not show well.
They did not.
For the rest of the teams out there by getting just obliterated by Oregon. I think the playoff will be, you know, fun. I'm looking forward to a lot of good games and some great competition. I think I didn't really count up all the teams on his list, but I think there'll probably be more SEC teams than he thinks. And my guess is you'll probably have Ohio State and Michigan from the Big Ten. You might get 1 more there. I think you'll get Utah from the Big 12 or, you know, somebody like that. You'll get Florida State from the ACC. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see 6 or 7 teams from the SEC. I mean, that's just how it works. So, you know, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's high time they get to this playoff, and let's let it go. Let it roll.
Tony, do you think this list would be an exciting lineup of teams?
I mean, outside of Liberty and James Madison, yeah, I do.
Liberty and James Madison.
I'm just saying, like, I get it. They had good years. At least for the first playoff, let's make sure that the teams in there are, deserve to be in there and are good enough to entertain, because that's the part of the calculation that we have to account for now is, do the matchups, make sense? Are you getting blowout games, or are you getting, good games? Because that's what makes the NCAA tournament so compelling, is you might get some blowouts, but you're going to have a lot more close games. And that's kind of the formula that you need. So outside of those two teams, you can replace them with any Power 5 team you want. It'd be a good showing.
One.
I mean, he didn't have SC in there, right?
No,
that wasn't in that.
Caleb Williams is leaving the team, so the team's going to collapse.
Okay, even if it's not them, who else? I mean, there's got to be an SEC team that he didn't name in there.
Like Vanderbilt or something.
Vanderbilt,
Wake Forest, maybe. Rutgers, maybe.
Wake Forest.
I don't even know what.
He's back on the Wake Forest thing again, Chris.
There he goes.
After the firing of Falcons head coach Arthur Smith, team owner Arthur Blank has to answer some questions about decisions his franchise made. When asked whether or not the team regrets not going after Lamar Jackson in free agency last offseason, he said, quote, "It's easy to say yes given his year. He's obviously an incredible player. We did not have the cap space. I think the coaching staff coaching personnel, all of us felt collectively, but certainly Coach and Terry, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot, that we had an answer in Desmond Ridder." So basically they chose Desmond Ridder. "A younger player without that kind of contract that would have kept us from actually building the team we wanted to build." So kind of a good point there. Tony,
stop it.
Was it a good or bad move not to pursue Lamar Jackson?
With all due respect, Mr. Blank, it was a bad decision. Bad decision.
They can't build a team, though, if they're going to pay him all that money.
Whatever. You see, Baltimore ain't spending a whole lot of money outside of Lamar Jackson either.
That's true.
They made it work.
Yes, they did.
So I'm just saying, like, even with the same exact pieces you had this year, you put Lamar Jackson in there, I'm willing to bet that you have a lot different season. You may not make the playoffs, but you're playing in a whole different realm at this point.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder was not the answer.
No, not to mention the Lamar Jackson playing in Atlanta, the type of, fanfare.
Is he from Atlanta?
No.
Oh.
But
from Miami.
He fits in that area.
Yeah, he does.
Plus, he would have been on the carpet. He'd be twice as fast.
Oh, my Lord.
Indoors.
Carpets.
My goodness.
Chris, do you think this was a bad move?
This is just stupid and a really dumb thing for Arthur Blank to say. I appreciate that he's trying to defend Desmond Ridder, but
right.
He sounds like an idiot in trying to do it. And I always, go back to these guys like Arthur Blank, who he's the founder of what, Home Depot?
Yes.
If his business acumen was as good as his sports acumen, he'd be lucky to own a Walgreens. This just it's asinine to say that they shouldn't have gone after Lamar Jackson. Come on.
And by the way, Arthur Blank is not the only one who made a dumb decision. And everybody who had a chance to sign him and needed a quarterback all fit into this same
I said
category.
At the time Miami should have gotten him right away. They just how good would they be? I know Tua had a nice year, but come
not
on,
that nice.
Nobody's close to Lamar Jackson. Yeah, not that nice.
Number 2.
So we talked about this yesterday, and you guys weren't too bothered by it, but listen to this interaction between Saints quarterback Jameis Winston and a reporter. The reporter starts by asking if he thinks the team will regret going for a touchdown instead of kneeling it to end the game. So here is that exchange.
Do you think we regret that? Well, you do have to play these guys twice a year. That's all I'm saying. We already played them twice.
I know, but I'm talking about somebody who's got to play these guys twice a year. That's all.
How do you feel about it? Tell me how you feel about it.
Not good.
Why don't you feel good about it?
Because you got to play these guys twice a year.
But what about it makes you not feel good about it?
The head coach tells you to kneel it up. You're asking my opinion?
Yes.
I think you should have kneeled it up.
Okay.
Well, I'm just telling you as respectfully as I can. You answer my question as respectfully as you could, and I'm telling you as respectfully as I can that I respectfully disagree.
All right, so that's the interaction.
Wait, you should have let the last part play where he was
here
like,
we go.
"Well, I appreciate hearing from you on that subject."
Okay. All right, fine. You're right. I should have left it. Here we go.
That's all. You disagree with me or the entire team?
Whoever made that decision.
Okay, so you disagree with the entire team. So thank you.
No, I'm just being honest and respectful.
And that's what I'm attempting to do too. And that's what I am doing. So, yes. Do you think?
So Jameis Winston tried to turn the tables on him, and
He did turn the tables on him.
He kind of did. But Chris, do you think that this is a fair interaction between reporter and player?
Respectfully, I don't think that Jameis Winston was being honest and fair in his decision making. But as far as this particular conversation went, yeah, that's a fair conversation to have. And I think the reporter was well within his rights to ask the question and follow up on it because he wasn't really getting an answer. And when Jameis Winston turned the tables on him, I respectfully respect the reporter's, ability to be able to answer his question the way he did. No, I thought it was a fair exchange.
All right, Tony, fair exchange?
The exchange was fair, for sure. I didn't like the reporter's attempt to try to be respectful in it. Nobody cares what the reporter thinks on in terms of how he felt. And the problem that I had with it was that he wanted Jameis to say, yeah, it was my decision, and that's why we did it.
Yes.
And he wasn't getting that, which is why he just kept asking the same question over and over again. Jameis stood on the fact that we made that decision as a team. Now, you could disagree with him, as the reporter did, of not listening to whatever the coach was saying to do. But I thought the beginning of it was fine, and then he lost me at the end when Jameis was like, well, it was a team decision. And he was like, well, I'm just saying that respectfully, I disagree with you. It's like, well, it wasn't just me.
You play them twice a year, but
that's the other thing.
You don't play them twice a year.
Here's the other thing. You play them twice a year. Next year, so they're going to carry this all the way.
They might
until next year. They very well could, but that only lasts for like a series, and then you got to actually play 4 quarters of football.
Yeah, but I brought this up
because
it
was an interesting back and forth.
It was because whenever you talk to Jameis Winston, you're going to get an interesting back and forth. He's an interesting dude.
Number 1.
According to report, okay, guys, this is one of the biggest stories of all time, I think. Chris, you're not going to like this.
All time.
According to reports, one big electronics store is no longer going to be selling DVDs, CDs, or Blu-rays in store anymore or online. They're getting rid of the physical media that they have. Best Buy has announced this, and they're not going to sell any physical DVDs in store or online, Blu-ray discs, anything with a disc. So no more discs coming from Best Buy. Tony, is this a sad day, or do you just not care?
I mean, it feels like it should be sad, but the truth of the matter is I can't remember the last time I bought a Blu-ray or any disc. I still have the players in my house, but I don't remember the last time I've actually bought one. So I feel like I should be sad about it, but I don't even really use them.
Can't think of the last time either. Chris, what do you think? Is this a sad day, or do you just not care?
Yeah, I don't even know how to use a DVD player anymore.
Right? Wow.
We've all forgot.
I mean, honestly, when's the last time you plugged it in and fired it up? I mean, I haven't. So
I guess
this is a non-story to me. I mean, that train has left the station, my friend.
I think they are going to sell video game discs, not because video games are still producing.
I can't even remember honestly the last time I bought a hard copy of a video game.
I bought Madden as a disc, and the rest of the games I bought are the ones that I download.
I always tell myself I want the hard copies, And then when it gets time to buy them, I don't have to leave my couch. I'm like,
then you have to move them, and if you ever move, all that stuff. All
I
right,
don't even play a CD anymore.
all right.
They just sit on my shelf.
That's it for the Big Five. When we get back, we'll recap the latest in sports on 97.3 The Fan.
Ben and Woods on The Fan.
Coming up Wednesday, we're waking up early after late night Aztecs basketball.
And it may be
and hopefully I'm in one of those high leverage situations to pitching games.
That is Yuki Matsui's translator, Shingo, who also is Yu Darvish's translator, translating what Matsui had to say in terms of his press conference they had down at Petco Park, talking about his role a little bit. And I think that is fluid right now. I don't know that there is a quote-unquote closer right now for the Padres, but certainly, Chris, it sounds like Yuki Matsui wants to be one of those guys.
Yeah, that's music to my ears. I mean, that to me is a perfect response to the question. He wants to get in there, get some outs, and build some trust, and hopefully gets that opportunity. I like the fact that he, acknowledges the fact he hasn't even gotten out in the big leagues yet. Yeah. So, let him get his feet wet, let him get comfortable. I think he's coming in with the right attitude. It's a perfect attitude, and I think Shingo's going to be a very busy guy this year. How many interpreters are the Padres going to have to carry? Are you guys going to have to get another bus just for the interpreters this year?
Nah,
listen,
there's going to be a lot of work to be done for sure.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I forgot where we were going on this.
Oh, well, we were just going to talk a little bit about what Chris missed earlier, which was the national championship and his guy, Jim Harbaugh, winning the title.
Oh, Jimmy H. Getting the job done there, Chris. I know you were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, the old saying, cheaters never prosper, took a big hit last night. So that's all I can say. No, you know what? Look, I'm over it. I mean, Michigan, got the wins that they had to get. I mean, after all of the controversy and all of the stuff that went down, they ended the season by beating Ohio State, Alabama, and Washington. That's pretty impressive run right there. So, and they were clearly the dominant team last night. I thought it was amazing that Washington was able to hang around in the game until the fourth quarter and only be down by 7 points, because the way that game started, I thought Michigan was going to blow them out. And I know the final score looked like a wide margin, but it was a much closer game. The problem for Penix was he just got battered. He got bruised. He got beaten. I don't know that you can really judge Penix as a quarterback from that game. I'm sure there's some people that probably only saw him play in that game, but he threw every pass last night backpedaling, Tony. I don't think he once got to step into a throw the whole night.
But
the
Michigan
defensive line dominated the game.
Yeah, I was about to say that speaks to the domination on the defensive line from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing on the offensive side. The offensive line dominated Washington's defensive line, and they did it with smash mouth football. And
they ran for over 300 yards. I'm sorry. You run for over 300 yards, you're going to win the game.
100%.
So, yeah, it was clear cut that Michigan was the best team, and maybe Alabama could make a claim. They had them, late in that football game, but Michigan did what they had to do to win that in overtime, and you beat Ohio State, Alabama, and Washington back to back. That's an impressive run. So, kudos to Jim Harbaugh. I thought one of the great moments of the game was when Jim Harbaugh's leaning over on the sidelines, coaching up the game, and his brother comes over and gives him a hug. Like right in the middle of the second quarter. Jim Harbaugh's like, "What are you doing here?" Because I just thought I'd give you a little hug and give you a little support. I mean, you talk about two pretty smart football coaches. Those two guys are pretty damn impressive.
I was just gonna say you could feel how you want to feel in terms of Jim Harbaugh and where he's conducted himself, but you can't say this dude isn't one heck of a coach. I mean, he can coach some football.
Outstanding.
Yeah, him and his brother.
He did it. He did it with the University of San Diego. He built basically an undefeated team, at USD. I mean, and I remember he brought Josh Johnson in, and then he left, and he goes to Stanford and, pulls off that 42-point upset of USC. And I mean, that's still one of the greatest victories in college football. And Jim Harbaugh's, he's a winner, and he knows how to get the job done.
You bring up the upset of that game, but I don't want people to forget Stanford eventually took over that conference. I mean, the team he ended up handing off Shaw once he left for the NFL was a team that was really leading the way in the Pac-12 at the time he left. They went from bottom feeders to the top in that time frame that he was there. So I mean, yes, they had that big upset in terms of a point spread, but they would later go on to just be a dominant team in that conference.
That's how bad they were when he took over.
Right.
Like they would be a 42-point underdog in a game. Jim Harbaugh, honestly, on the field, has only made one mistake in his entire life, and I know Skraby knows what it is, and that's calling for the stupid fade pattern to Michael Crabtree 7 straight times in the Super Bowl.
When you got Colin Kaepernick and Frank Gore perfectly capable of running 2 yards.
Yeah, if he hadn't done that, Jim Harbaugh would have almost a perfect coaching career on the field. So, whoever gets him next is gonna do well. The talk of the Chargers, I don't think it'll happen because I just don't think the Chargers will ante up.
You think they'll mess it up?
And I think they'll mess it up, or I don't think Harbaugh would be dumb enough to want to coach under that ownership. But if he does go to the Chargers, that might be his greatest trick yet, is to turn them into a team that could really compete for a Super Bowl. He'll certainly have a capable enough quarterback and some talent around him. So I wouldn't put it past him if he did go to the Chargers that he could turn them into a winner because he's turned everybody else into one.
Yeah, we'll see. Certainly the odds-on favorite for his landing spot, Skraby and I went over it earlier, is the Chargers. They're they're a big favorite at this point for him to become the coach. We'll see exactly how it goes. One of the things that we didn't get to earlier, but is newsworthy is Rachel Balkovec, former low A manager for the Yankees.
Oh yeah,
remember she was one of the first females in the Yankees organization. She has been hired to become the director of player development, which is really all of the minor leagues, to oversee all of the minor leagues for the Marlins. And so they pivot and make their move. So she'll be working with a friend of ours, Skip Schumacher, at least for this next season. So congratulations to Rachel, who gets a chance to.
Good for the Marlins. I only hope that the Marlins treat her better than they appear to treat
just getting ready
Kim
to say
Ng.
that. Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, they made the historic hire of Kim Ng, and, she goes in there and does a, good enough job, I thought, but wants to get out of there because it was, the ownership was so messy. So, Rachel will be working under that same, umbrella there. But, this is terrific. I mean, women in sports, I work with a women's basketball team, and that's why I'm in Laramie right now. I love to see, the strides that women keep making on the court, on the field, and in the front office in all sports. It's high time. It should have happened years and years ago, but better late than never. And Rachel is paving the way for many other young ladies who'd like to get into this type of work. So
yeah, she's
applaud her for what she's doing.
Her climb is she started as a full-time strength and conditioning coach. Then she was the full-time hitting coach with the Yankees organization at the Florida complex, which is the high A complex. And then she became a full-time manager last year, for a full-time manager for Tampa last year. So I think, for the Yankees, the Tampa team that they have. She has moved up the ladder. This is a big step. I mean, this is now where all the eyes are on in Major League Baseball. It's the farm system and what you are cultivating down there. And she'll have an opportunity to do that with the Marlins for sure. So kudos to her. It's a big time story. We talked a little bit about Vrabel being let go when you first came on the show. Apparently, I don't know if you guys saw this, but apparently Broncos GM leaves the door open for a Russell Wilson return. I don't see there being no chance he goes
Sean
back
Payton's
to that.
still going to be there?
Gosh, yeah. If Sean Payton's there's definitely no way he goes back.
No, I think the Broncos are a mess. And I think you hit it on the head last week, Tony, when you said not only is Russell Wilson not going to go there, but what big-name quarterback's going to want to go there and run the risk of being treated the way Wilson was? So I think they've messed up in free agency. They're going to have to they're going to have to give somebody else a pile of money. And how many more piles of money do they have?
Right.
I mean, it's all tied up in Russell Wilson.
They'll still be paying Russell Wilson too, by the way.
Yeah. So the Broncos, I think, are headed for disaster in the AFC. And I think the Titans are headed for the same place. I don't know how you can look at the body of work of Mike Vrabel and determine that he's the problem there. I mean, they had a bad year, for them, but they were breaking in a rookie quarterback there. And look, they got some impressive wins down the stretch. You called it the other day when they beat Jacksonville. Whenever Mike Vrabel has a team with no chance, he's dangerous.
Yeah.
And he proved that in December by beating Jacksonville and Miami. I really think this is just a no-brainer for him to step in for Belichick in New England, and I think the Patriots are going to get a great coach, and I think that's how that's going to turn out.
Skraby and I talked about earlier, when you give him Vrabel a competent quarterback or a healthy quarterback, he's actually been pretty good. The last 2.5 seasons has basically been when the quarterback position has either been too hurt or not been good, and due to youth, and so. I think it's unfair to look at the last 2.5 seasons that he's had. I know that's not how this thing works, but you traded away.
Well, they were the number 1 seed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and then they turned around.
With Tannehill at quarterback, he got the number 1 seed.
And then they turned around and traded A.J. Brown away to the Eagles. Not that long after. So
yeah, that wasn't his fault. He also beat Baltimore in the first round of the playoffs when Baltimore was the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
I mean, I think this guy's a really good coach. So. New England, Robert Kraft is smiling somewhere tonight.
It's easy money for him. All right, let's step away. Let's get to break. We got more Gwynn and Chris when we return. How about a fantabulous game show? No, as in we're not doing it, or no, as you're not looking forward to it?
I'm not looking forward to it.
Tough cookies. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Cookies, huh?
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
They cleared that crash south 805 near Governor a while ago, but you're still very sluggish off the split all the way down toward Murray Ridge. Another crash in the center divide. Then up ahead, south 805 at the eastbound King Freeway, another accident. Southbound side of the 5 heavy is well coming off the split all the way down towards SeaWorld Drive before it lets up. But at least no incidents or accidents getting in your way. Collision on southbound 15 before Mark.
here. And we're about to get 2024 kicked off in a real way. Fantabulous game show coming your way.
Double champ is over here.
In fantasy, which is
doesn't really matter.
It's an anomaly.
Yeah, this is real life, Skraby. This is real life.
Okay.
All right.
Good comeback, Chris. Good comeback. Real quick before we get to play, Draymond Green returns. And I don't know, listening, Draymond Green is one of the people who refuses to ever go back, apologize. He's a double downer, is what I like to call him, right? He's not doing that this time around. And you know, we don't have time to get into some of the quotes that I saw, but he seems to have really taken this time of leave really to heart. And so we'll get into that. Hopefully we have some time on the back end before we get to our interview of the day from Michael King. But I was quite surprised to read some of the quotes I saw from him. So hopefully he's on.
He said that Adam Silver talked him out of retiring.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of that.
What's wrong with Adam Silver? Should have been like, yes, please. I have too many headaches with you.
Well, that was part of it. It seemed as though he was ready. He was overwhelmed, ready to retire. Adam Silver talked him out of that, among other things. But it sounded like the therapy part was the part he really focused on. And I know that's right up your alley, Scrape. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But now it's time for a butt whooping. Who's it going to be? Mine's or Scraby's? We'll find out.
Hey, all you beautiful people out there, it's time to play one of our favorite games of the week.
All right.
We like to call it
Ooh, I'm going to go
Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show.
And it starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, guys, we'll get right into it. I think it's an easy category, but I think it's a tough game. And you'll see what I'm talking about. There are 15 correct answers today. Tony and Skraby will rotate, and they will try to name correct answers. If they get one wrong or repeat an answer, they get a strike. 3 strikes and you're out. First person to 8 correct answers will win the game today. And here is the category. There are oh, yes, some music.
Sorry. It really took you by surprise.
It stunned me there, yeah. There are 32 teams in the National Football League. 32 teams. 15 of those teams have 20 or more playoff wins in their history.
God.
Yeah. 15 of the 32 teams have won 20 or more playoff games in their history. So going all the way back to the beginning of football. Your job is to name the 15 teams that have won 20 or more playoff games.
Wow.
All right.
That's a
so
good category.
at least you can guess a team. I mean, you know that.
Yeah,
so it's not like you're going to be pulling them out of thin air. You just got to guess the right 15 teams. Skraby, do you want to go first or pass?
What do I usually do? And I think
you
I
usually go first, and it costs you.
Okay, Tony goes first.
Fine.
Tony going to go first?
No, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Dallas.
Oh, wow.
Dallas Cowboys have 36 victories in their illustrious franchise history. That is tied for the third most. So that is correct. Tony's on the board. All right, Skraby, give me a team with 20 or more playoff wins as a franchise.
I can't skip over my Santa Clara 49ers.
Santa Clara 49ers is correct. 37 victories. That is tied for first.
The phony Niners.
The phony Niners are tied for first
victories.
with those 37 wins. Yes. All right. So it's 1-1. It's off to as the game usually goes, easy, and then it gets harder as we go. Tony, you're up.
Let's go with the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. That was a riskier guess than you think.
It was. No, I know it was risky.
The Chiefs only have exactly 20.
Oh.
The Super Bowl victory last year was their 20th.
We're looking for
win.
15 wins or 20
20
wins?
wins. There's 15
What did you
teams.
20 wins.
15 teams. Oh, I got lucky there.
You did get lucky there.
I cannot believe you.
Barely
lucky there.
Yeah, the Chiefs get in by their skin by winning the Super Bowl last year. That was their 20th playoff victory.
I got the whole
so that is
15-20 thing confused there.
Oh, because
I got
not
lucky.
sure
20.
You left the easiest answer on the board.
I know I did.
The New England Patriots.
Yeah.
New England Patriots tied with the 49ers, 37 victories. So if the 49ers win one playoff game this year, Skraby, they will be the leaders in that category and to make you even more impossible to deal with. All right, so it's 2-2. Tony, see if you can get one without hitting the post this time.
How about the Raiders?
Oh, wow.
The Raiders. The Raiders haven't won as many as you might think, but they have 25.
Okay, all right. Don't play me.
I mean,
that's a
lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot. They have 25. They are a correct answer on that. The Raiders, interestingly, have not won a road playoff game since 1980.
Wow.
But
don't have to worry about it this year.
No.
They don't have to worry about that this year. All right, 3-2. Tony's on top. There are 10 correct answers left. Skraby, no strikes on the board.
The Steelers.
Ooh.
The Steelers, that was a good guess.
Good
The
guess.
Pittsburgh Steelers are way up there, tied with the Cowboys. 36 all-time victories for the Steelers. So they'll be looking for number 37 this weekend. All right, we're tied 3-3. Still no strikes. 9 correct answers left. Tony.
How about the Eagles?
Tony's being risky here.
He is.
Being
I
much
don't know
more
what
risky.
he's
The
doing.
Eagles. Why did you guess the Eagles? I'm just wondering.
Just tell me.
They have
if it's right.
25, so you're okay. You're okay. You're safe.
I picked them because I know they were going to NFC Championship games like 3 consecutive
Right
at
and
least.
left.
I felt
No,
like
that's
at
true.
least in the 70s they had to scrounge up some wins in there somewhere.
Well, they have enough. 25. So the Eagles are on the board. 4-3. What was that?
That was Tony banging on the table.
Oh, okay. All right, Skraby, for the tie to get even again.
You know,
20 playoff victories.
I'm trying to think of teams that just dominated my childhood, and I think the Packers probably have 20.
Well, the Packers is a good guess because they've been playing football since the beginning of time.
And they were in Super Bowl 1, so.
And 2. That is correct. They have 36 wins.
Wow,
they have
that's way
10
more than I
NFL championships.
We only
10
got
NFL
6 more teams
championships.
left in this bad boy, right? 7?
It is 4-4. There are only 7 left. It's going to get a little tricky now.
Yes, it will.
20 or more playoff victories. Tony's got 4 right. Skraby's got 4 right. I think all the biggest ones are off the board, but we'll see where you go here, Tony.
20 of them. How about your Dolphins?
Oh, I didn't even think about
Dolphins. A very interesting pick, being as they haven't won any playoff games since 2000.
Are you setting you
which
up
is
for success?
ridiculous. He hit the post again.
Oh,
they have 20.
Yes.
They have exactly 20. Yeah. Well, they won a lot in the 70s.
Yeah,
when they
that's
were,
what I was
the
banking
perfect season. Yeah, they won a bunch of them in the 70s. But, yeah, the Dolphins have that long drought going all the way back to 2000. All right, so we are 5-4, Tony. There are 6 correct answers left. I think it's going to be interesting here.
Well, I think the Bills, yeah, they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row. They've been good lately. I'm going to say the Bills.
The Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. They have not won a road game in the playoffs since 1992. And despite going to 4 straight Super Bowls, that's about all they ever did. The Bills have 18.
There's a
So that is incorrect. That is a strike for Skraby. Buffalo Bills are 18-20 all time in playoffs.
It's ridiculous. I thought I had it. I had it.
Yeah, 4 straight Super Bowls. You think they'd have enough, but
I mean, they have to win
They
at
don't
least
quite
2
have enough.
games to get there.
yeah, well, that's where they're at, 18. All right, so Tony leads 5-4. There are 6 correct answers left, and it is Tony's turn with no strikes. He's hit the post twice.
I know I'm about to miss here. I can feel it. How about the Vikings?
Oh, wow.
The Vikings also been to 4 Super Bowls, but the last one was in 1976. The Vikings have lost more playoff games than any other franchise. 31 losses, but they have 21 wins.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've
Just
ever heard in my
enough.
entire life. Tell
Just
me this game
enough.
isn't fixed without
Fixed.
This is fixed.
How is it
That's
fixed?
ridiculous.
He got it.
What is he showing?
Vikings.
Show my answers and your answers.
All right, Tony's got
How is a
6.
team that
Skraby
hasn't been
has
to the Super
4.
Bowl since
Because
1976?
they had the purple people eaters that were killing everybody.
They go all the time. I mean, the Vikings have been to the playoffs 31 years, but they've lost every time they've ever been there. All right, Tony 6, Skraby 4. It's not over yet, Skrabe. He still needs 2 more, but you need to get a correct answer here to avoid a second strike.
This team
I
went.
don't know that you're thinking of this. I don't think you guys are thinking of this correctly. I'll be honest with you, but go ahead, Skraby. I'll explain later.
Okay. A team that's played in the Super Bowl and played a lot of playoffs, the Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos.
That's a good one.
Let me find the Broncos. They've won 3 Super Bowls. You'd think they'd have enough. 23 wins for the Broncos.
All right. I almost
That is
threw my
just
pen
enough.
at you through the studio.
Just enough. So they're okay. 6-5. It is correct. There are 4 correct answers left. Tony leads 6-5.
I'm running out.
I'm just making a note of the 4 that are left. Okay. Go ahead, Tony. See if you can come up with one. You still don't have a strike, so you're doing good.
How about the Giants?
I didn't even think about them.
The New York Football Giants have been playing forever. Remember, they came into the NFL like in the 1930s, and they've won 25 playoff games. That is correct.
This is ridiculous.
Good thinking by Tony Skraby. He's like, I can't even see him, but I already know what the look is on his face right now.
This is ridiculous. I hate
7-5.
this game.
All right, so Tony has 7. Skraby, for you to win, you got to get the last 3.
Oh my god!
And Tony can't get any more right. It's got to begin right here, Skraby.
All
there are
right.
3 teams that have won 20 or more playoff games. You need to name one of them.
I'm gonna go with another Peyton Manning team, the Colts.
The Colts. Fortunately, the Colts have been playing for a long, long time as well. They won a lot with Johnny Unitas. They won a lot with Peyton Manning. 23
Okay.
for the Colts. That is correct. It is now 7-6.
This could
There
get
are
tight.
there are only 2 correct answers
Oh
left.
my gosh.
And Tony has no
my
strikes.
gosh, I
Skraby
just-
has 1. This is a very tense one today. All right, Tony, for the championship right here, if you get it right, there's 2 correct answers.
How about Commanders?
The Washington
wow.
Commanders. Again, going back to the dawn of pro football.
Didn't even think about them.
Very smart. They started as the Boston Redskins. Then they became the Washington Redskins.
Okay, just get to the answer.
Then they became the Washington FT. They have 23 wins all time in franchise history. Tony does not miss a single one.
Yeah,
He wins the game 8-6. He is the champ again. Pretty good, guys. You only had 1 strike between you.
Are the Saints on
Not
that
bad.
list?
The Saints, no. The
I
Saints
just was
are nowhere
thinking Drew
near.
Brees days.
Browns?
The Browns, nope. The other team that you didn't name
Seahawks?
is the Los Angeles Rams.
I don't know
Rams
where
have
my
been playing
pen went.
for 100 years, 26. The other one I thought you would guess at least is the Chicago Bears. They've been playing since the beginning of time. That would have been incorrect, though. They have only 7 teams. So the only one you missed was the Rams. Tony is today's champion on Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show.
I just got a text
Once
from
again.
our guy Dave Marcus.
Oh gosh.
And he wanted to let me know that the Cowboys will have the most playoff wins in a few weeks.
That's not possible.
Oh, in a few weeks.
In a few
okay,
weeks.
we'll see about that.
Because the Cowboys are going to lose.
We'll see.
They're
about
gonna
that,
cowboy
Dave
it.
Marcus.
Let's get to
We'll
break.
see what happens.
We are well beyond our time. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Michael King up next.
Spectrum Business is made to work like your small business. Made to do it all with fast, ultra-reliable internet, phone, and
newly acquired Michael King joined us earlier. You get a chance to hear him in a few minutes. But wanted to get to this before we got to that interview. John Morant, who had been suspended for, I think it's ended up being like 25 games ultimately, plus the games that he got suspended last year, will miss the rest of this season. And when I saw this come across my phone, Skraby, I don't know if you can relate, but I saw it come across my phone, and all I could think about is like, please don't let. I actually was hoping it was an injury, and that sounds crazy to say, but considering all the trouble he was in last year, I was just hoping it wasn't something along those lines. Now, obviously, you don't want anybody to get hurt, but based on the trouble he had been in, and if it had been along those lines, the kind of trouble he would have been in, I took the injury.
Yeah, my phone had a pop up and it said John Morant out for the rest of the season.
That's all mine said too.
And I'm like, same exact thing. Like, what did he do now? I really hope he didn't do anything stupid. He just got back, and then I felt really bad for him because
torn labrum. Apparently, it happened in practice. So it's. I think he's already having the. He might have already had the surgery, which is why it just abruptly came out that he was out for the season. There was no game, no nothing. But the Memphis Grizzlies, who had, since he had been back, had started to look like the Grizzlies that were there last year before his suspensions. That's going to all come to a halt.
You know, I feel bad for him. I mean, my first thought was, well, this is what, happens, the karma, but that's not fair. I mean, because he served his time, he served his, suspension. He's tried to come back and be a better person. So for him to get hurt is really a shame. The one thing I will say, I hope that during this injury, he spends a lot of time around his teammates. Because Tony, you know how this can be. Your team is your family. And we don't want John Morant to be out on an island again while he's going through this injury. I hope that he'll stay close to the team and, stay on the up and up, because he's a kid you should root for. He's a fantastic player, a great athlete. He's made mistakes. I hope it never happens again. And I just hope that, the injury creates a lot of downtime, and that's always a concern.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hopefully he heals up fast. All right, let's get to our interview of the day. Michael King, Padres pitcher, joins us. First, here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Still a few trouble spots out here, guys. One is this collision on southbound 805 at the eastbound King Freeway connector. Looks like that is in the clearing stage. Going to find on southbound 163 before Friars Road. Collision in the center divide. Looks like several vehicles involved in that. And collision on the southbound side of the 5 before Civic Center. That is in the center divide. Northbound 15 past Miramar Road. There is a collision involving a couple vehicles. It appears to be blocking the fast lane, so just watch out for some activity there. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Michael King, Padres newly acquired pitcher. Michael, how are you doing today, man? Thanks for coming on.
So much for having me.
Let me start here. It sounds like you're going to get an opportunity to start. Last couple of seasons, you've kind of been in the rotation, kind of also been out of the bullpen. Are you looking forward to the opportunity to start?
Yeah, I can't wait. I was begging the Yankees for a while, and then was finally given the opportunity towards the end of this past year. And yeah, I'm really looking forward for a full season, staying on that 5-man rotation. I've always been a routine-oriented guy. So I felt like that suited me best. And I just wanted the opportunity, and I can't thank the Padres enough, because that they'll be giving it to me.
Now let's go back. Obviously the trade goes down. How much did you know? What was it like once you heard the news, and have you had a chance to get out here to San Diego and kind of see things for yourself?
Yeah, I definitely was shocked. Obviously, any type of trade is weird. I heard rumblings probably the couple days before that things could possibly start happening. The Yankees are all I know at the big league level, and I've been with them since 2018, so just in general, it's weird. So I went through a little bit like anxious and a little sad to not see my friends again, but then all of a sudden, I just became so happy with the opportunity that's coming. San Diego is a sweet spot. They have an awesome team. I've connected with a couple of the guys on the team. I've connected with a lot of the front office and coaching staff. So I'm just pumped to get out there and get to work with them. I have not been out in San Diego yet, but I actually am going out on this Thursday and throwing a bullpen on Friday with Ruben, and I've talked to Musgrove a little bit. I think he'll poke in and see me and meet me for the first time, or I guess in person. So I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome, man. Well, hopefully we bring you some good weather to kind of get things going once you head down this way. You mentioned this is a change of pace for you. I mean, you are a New Yorker through and through, born in Rochester, obviously playing in the big leagues with the Yankees. Probably, I'm guessing, was somewhat of a dream come true. But how do you think this transition? What is this going to be like for you as you will be, embarking on a new journey in a completely new place that you haven't been to before?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously totally different. Baseball players are baseball players, so I know that my friends and teammates are going to welcome me in, and I'll get along right with them, just because that's how baseball players are. Yeah. But obviously the area is totally different. The weather's totally different. Even like media is totally different. Fans totally different. So I got a decent adjustment ahead of me, but honestly, I'm just really excited for it. That's really the only word that I've been using a ton, just because, like, when you think about San Diego, people say it's their favorite city in America, and it's a vacation spot, and it's the best weather you can get, and it's also a pitcher's park. So there's so many that make me excited to come out there, and I just can't wait for it.
We're talking to Michael King, new Padres pitcher here on Gwynn and Chris 97.3 The Fan. And I know that you said anytime trades are being talked about and your name's in it, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but I got to amp it up to the next level. What's it like to be the main piece of a blockbuster trade? Because we heard about these rumors for a while, and your name was always a part of it. And some of the other guys that came along with you were put as part of that trade as well. But what is it like to be the main guy in that trade?
It's weird. It makes me feel wanted, which is obviously a great thing. And yeah, I mean, there's so many guys in the trade that also can be absolute studs. I was just talking to Ruben about Vasquez and Brito, and I haven't even met Thorpe yet. And all I've heard about from Thorpe is how awesome his changeup is and how he projects to be this super prospect. So it's not, I love that you guys are saying that I'm the main piece in it, but I mean, the Padres just got a ton of young arms, and then bringing along Higgy too. Higgy was one of my best friends on the team, and also just knows how to command a staff, and having him know me really well is settling for me. But also having him come in and really be able to prove his worth, because he's so good at managing a pitching staff, I think will be huge for us. So as much as like you guys are saying I'm the main piece in it, I think that I think Preller did really well in this trade, because the guys that are coming over are ready to make an impact.
Michael King joins us, Padres newly acquired pitcher from the Yankees in the Juan Soto deal. And Michael, one of the things that is apparent at the top of this rotation, you have two guys in Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. And the two things that stand out about those guys is they are true students of pitching. Are there guys that you like to watch, do their thing on the mound that, you try to take a little piece from?
Yeah, I pride myself on my preparation. And so I look at a lot of guys that are similar to me, and just kind of their sequences in terms of how they work. So guys that I always go to are, I'm thinking of like Aaron Nola was big. Corey Kluber was big, and he was a teammate of him for a while. So I've been lucky to have the guys in the locker room that I can bounce ideas off of. And the brief conversations I've had with Musgrove, I already love him. And I can't wait to actually pick his brain and see how he works and the conversations that we're going to have. So I'm really excited to start those relationships. But the guys that I really look at are the sinker slider guys, the guys that can really move the ball laterally. I know Musgrove's got that slider that he goes to a bunch. So there are different things that I can't wait to pick the brain of those two guys. And a little weird piece is Shingo, Yu Darvish's translator, was Tanaka's with the Yankees. So I got a good relationship. I can't wait to see Shingo again too.
Shingo's good peoples.
We're talking to Michael King here on Gwynn and Chris 97.3 The Fan. And Michael, you are now in the National League West. And unfortunately, the National League West includes the team that spent over $1 billion in free agency. But I just want to ask you, like, what are you looking forward to now that you're out of the AL, out of the AL East, and you're in the NL West taking on some of the best teams in baseball?
Yeah, I do think that the change from the AL East to the NL West isn't really that much, because you think of who are the best divisions in baseball, and I feel like that's the main conversation is between those two divisions. So I think it's obviously totally different sides of the country, but similar talent. And then you got that super team over there with the Dodgers, and that lineup. It's going to be fun to face them. They're going to be challenging, and they're going to show you a ton of different looks. But I know that, again, our preparation is going to be there. I loved my conversation with Ruben in terms of the video analysis that we're going to do on hitters, and even the analytics side that we get from the Padres will be really fun to kind of piece together a game plan.
Michael King joins us here, Padres newly acquired pitcher. And Michael, I got to ask, man, have you thought about what kind of facial hair you're going to rock now that you are from up under the regime of the Yankees?
You do not want to see me with facial hair.
Oh.
I will be clean shaven. There might be a couple times where I was always afraid if I was going to get yelled at with the Yankees and I have a little scruff, but I get like kind of reddish in my beard, and my wife it, so I'm all good on staying clean shaven.
All right, yeah, happy wife, happy life.
Let me ask you real quick, because we don't normally get a former Yankee on the show. How serious are the Yankees? You said you might get yelled at for some stubble, but that seems kind of crazy.
Yelled at is if you're going to talk to Aaron Boone about him yelling, besides
good point.
Besides when he does it to the umpires, it's more of like a, hey, you mind shaving that before the game starts? That's really all. You never want to have those conversations with the manager. So I never wanted to be in that. But we always talk with I'm telling you, multiple guys every day will just be like, hey, you think I'm okay with this, or should I shave it? And they always shave it. So
yeah, no, it's the real deal. It's a real deal over there. Michael King joins us, and Michael, you know, we're joking about the facial hair, but a lot of times guys come out of their organization and there's so much they're able to kind of bring with them. What are some of those things for you that you're able to learn in an organization like the Yankees that you'll be able to take with you moving forward for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I think that the facial hair is almost trying to teach you more discipline, or at least continue your discipline. So I'll definitely be a disciplined player coming over. I also think that the competitive nature in that locker room was awesome. You had so much talent in there that you have to have some healthy competition amongst teammates. And thinking about pitching with Darvish and Musgrove is something that excites me. There's obviously I don't want anything but the best for them, but I know that they're going to be pushing me to be my best, just like I'm going to push them to be their best. So I think that competitive nature within the locker room is something that I'd love to bring over and make sure that everybody's going to be at their best of their abilities.
Last one, you've mentioned his name a few times, but Ruben Niebla is pretty widely known as one of the better pitching coaches in this league, a pitching whisperer, if you will. I mean, how excited are you getting a chance to work with him on an everyday basis as you get ready to turn the corner here for spring training?
Yeah, I have heard nothing but good things about him. Every conversation I've had with him, I come away with it being like, God, I love that guy. He is the pitching whisperer. The one that I always go back to is he was with Kluber in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Kluber was somebody that I emulated growing up, or I guess coming up. I don't want to age him too much, but and the first thing I said to Kluber about, I just said, yeah, you had Ruben. I kind of was vague with it, and he was like, dude, I would not have won the 2 Cy Youngs I did without Ruben. He made me so confident in my ability, and he was a main reason why I won those 2 Cy Youngs. And so for somebody that I tried to emulate my mechanics and pitch sequences and even just my whole arsenal off of, is crediting Ruben. So now I have almost extra incentive to be a big fan of this guy. So I can't wait to get a full season in with him and see how he works with me.
Well, Michael, the Padres can't wait to get a full season in with you. We appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. Welcome to San Diego, and hopefully when you get out here next week, the weather will be nice for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Michael King, Padres, soon to be starting pitcher. Yeah, Michael King on it. Real quick, before we got to get going. The Skraby
Great
Show
interview,
is
guys.
next.
I gotta
And Chris,
tell you,
this morning,
that was-
Ben and Woods, they called it. They called it early. They said they wondered if Skraby is definitely taking stories or withholding stories for his show.
I am not.
It's already started, Chris. It's already started.
Yeah, Chris said we did a great job on the interview. So
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you, brother.
Chris.
It was good.
All right, that's going to do it. The Skraby Show is next. See you tomorrow.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods, and our show is where Padres fans gather all year long.
The games may be over, but this team is always giving us something to talk about.
Join us weekday mornings